yes, things aren't ever perfect, but I think it's still important to have that aim, to try to aim towards perfection. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
contradictory in a way. Like it's never gonna be perfect, but when you're making your art, you want it to be as perfect as it can be, right? And that's why art is always a work in progress. It's never completely finished because you get what I'm saying,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, I
Like,
think like an individual piece could be finished. I mean, especially since I work in
mhm,
ceramics. Like there's a point where you can't really do anything, which I think it was actually helpful for me because I was
mhm,
always like an overworker. Like, oh, it has to be perfect, it has to be perfect. But that can be a hindrance too. So like
mhm,
in my classes, I say aim for 95%, right?
mm.
And then you
Really
let it
good.
go because you're never going to get 100.
Right.
And you can like really like, and I went through this and I still go through this sometimes because I have a bunch of stuff I never finish because I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like 80% there, like 90% there, like done wise. But I'm like, oh my God, how do I finish it? It has to be exactly like the best possible outcome. And if it's not, I just want to like smash it.
I
You
totally
know?
understand. Oh, yes, yes. I have so many projects that are just like, 30% done. They're like 60% done, or it's just like, yeah, there's a time and place, right? I mean, I feel like so much of it is not up to us individually. It just kind of like you
Mm,
have to be in the right moment in the right place, and you just have to kind of let this like the grandioseness of it like just speak through your like limited powers that you have here, this like small
right.
perspective. And it's a humbling thing for sure. It's like you got to open yourself up, right, for the art to come through, right? Okay, I guess you've been into pottery lately. Is
Yeah, I've
is
been
that
doing it for like
correct?
15 years.
15 years. Oh, so not lately,
Yeah.
but like for a
Yeah.
while
I mean, I
now.
went to, we met at New Paltz. I went to school
Yes.
for it.
You went to school
Yeah.
in New Paltz for pottery, so this has been like a long
Yeah,
like passion of
this
yours.
has been my lifelong commitment.
Wow.
At
Okay.
least
I
since I was
guess
like, I started at 16.
that's awesome. So when did that interest spark in you? Like the interest of pottery specifically?
Yeah, well, I didn't start like the actual throwing, like pottery, right? There's pottery and ceramics, which pottery is
Mm.
ceramic, like ceramics is the material. Like things that
Okay.
are made out of clay are all considered ceramics, but pottery is pots, right? Like handmade pottery. I didn't make those. This is
Nice.
just what I
Okay.
was drinking my coffee out of.
I'm
Um,
drinking coffee too. Yeah.
but yeah, I was always into everything.
Mhm.
Like pretty much like I loved school. I loved every subject. Like I did music, I did sport, I did
Yeah.
visual art,
Mm.
and like yoga and like all these different things, right? But
Mhm.
it was really, I actually got started on accident because I was more into drawing and painting. Like I really love painting. And I wanted to take a painting class. And then one of my friends in high school wanted to take a sculpture class and she wanted me to take it with her because she didn't want to do it alone. So I signed up for the sculpture class and then she didn't end up taking it,
Oh my gosh.
which was
That's
so
so
funny.
funny.
But so I'm in
Like
the sculpture class.
catapulted you in a way, right?
Yeah. So I'm in
Hmm.
the sculpture class and I really liked it. And then my teacher was like, oh, you should try the ceramics class next.
Hmm.
So that's honestly,
Okay.
it was like totally by accident that I got into the class.
That's funny. Yeah. So, I mean, I've also been into a lot of arts, but like pottery or ceramics is something I've never had any experience in. So this is so interesting
Mhm.
to me, just coming from like a multimodal, artist perspective. That's one thing I've never tried ever before. So like explain it to me as if I'm a beginner. Like, so you said ceramics and pottery are different, so pottery is literally making
Yeah, so
pots.
there's a wide range. And honestly, this is a big reason why I chose to focus in ceramics is because you can pretty much do anything, right? Like you can make
Mhm.
functional things, all sorts of
Right.
functional things. Like people even make like furniture, like ceramic furniture.
Okay.
You can make outdoor things. Certain types of clay you can use to make buildings, like with different types
Hmm.
of mixtures, you know, um, like Adobe and Cobb and
Yes, Adobe and
they
Cobb
have
is so
clay in
cool.
them. I mean, even our buildings, right? Like
Yeah.
brick buildings. It's
What
like
is
a
what is so what
don't
is
get it.
ceramics? Is it like, I guess I just I don't know, from my beginner's mind, I think it's just like this mixture that turns into something
Yeah, well,
solid, right?
you harvest it from the ground, like you
Okay.
mine it. Um,
Oh.
so you can get pre-mixed clay. So usually you want like a different mixture of clay, um, like different particle sizes. So different types of clay and maybe something like grog in it, which is like sand pretty much.
Hmm.
That helps give it a little structure. So different types of clay for different types of things, um,
Okay.
different mixtures. But you can literally just dig it from the ground. And sometimes you can use it as is. It's can be tricky. But it's essentially dirt that has a certain composition and has a quality called plasticity, where you can push it around and it'll record that shape, right? So
Hmm.
it's actually where we get the word plastic for plastic
Hmm.
things because it's bendable, but it maintains its shape.
Hmm.
Um, and actually, so there's different types of clay, right? So there's porcelain and then stoneware and then terracotta. So
Okay.
what happens is like at the top of a mountain, right? You have like the mother feldspar. And then when as the rain comes down, it weathers away
Mm.
little particles of this
Mhm.
rock into
Wow.
really fine particles. And
Mhm.
then at closest to the source, you get porcelain, which like, you think of blue and white, like Chinese porcelain. It has a translucent quality to it. If you get it thin enough, you can see through it when you hold it up to the light.
Mhm.
And it also has more glass content in it. So it's a little more difficult to work with. So typically we don't have people start with that. It's a slightly like each type of clay has some different qualities.
Mhm.
And then as you travel down, it picks up more iron. So then you get a stoneware as it travels a
Hmm.
little lower. And porcelain, you have to each type of clay has a different maturity rate in the kiln, like a different heat that you heat it to for it to really solidify. So it's essentially like a metamorphic rock, right?
Wow. Mhm.
Because a kiln goes up to like 2000, 20, like 2200. So,
Whoa.
it
Okay. It's
it's
dangerous,
really
huh?
hot. Yeah. Well, it can be, like now we have electric kilns, which are pretty much just like an oven powered by
Right.
electricity, but then there's
Right.
also gas kilns, which is powered by gas. But the original is more like a pit fire or a wood kiln, which we can really get in the weeds, but hang on, let's just
Very
okay, so
interesting. Wow. Okay. You know
it's
so much
it's
about
so
it.
complicated.
So cool. Like, give us
But
give us a breakdown course on all things. So like ceramics, right?
it's like clay is before it's gone through the metamorphic process, right?
Mm.
So there are things called a crystobolite conversion where you get it to a certain temperature and then it's no longer decomposable. Like you can't, like with clay that's unfired, you just put it back in water. If you want, you can recycle it. It's going to decompose. But after it's gone through this process called a crystobolite conversion, and there's two of them in the process, it changes form and it's no longer the same material. So it's actually become more crystallized.
So this is after it's
Um,
heated, or
mhm,
okay.
yeah. So essentially it has to like melt, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then it's a different material,
It
right?
like
So you
hardens basically, right?
yeah, it hardens, it
Mm-hmm.
shrinks, the porosity of it changes,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the durability of it changes.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty amazing. So it started as a rock, trickled down, and then became a rock again, but a different kind of rock, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
And
it's
like
pretty wild.
molded, right? Yeah, so it's like you mold it into something like a shape that you want it to be, right? Like with your
Mhm.
hands, quite literally.
We say that it can capture like ephemeral things, right? So it's like a
Mm.
passing moment, like a gesture or a squeeze or
Wow.
a handprint, and it records it,
Yes. Okay.
right? It literally
Yes.
records your touch.
Hmm. I
Um,
love that you said ephemeral. It's one of my favorite words.
yeah, I
Um,
didn't hear that word until ceramics, and it's
wow.
like was one of those cool words to
Dude, that's
use.
deep. That's deep. Yeah, that's so cool. No, that's right. Because in
Yo,
like the life, I guess I would imagine, right, in the life of this substance, like at a certain point you imprint it into this like shape that's there for
hmm
maybe a small amount of time, relative to its whole life, right? Which could be forever,
right.
right? Like matter doesn't isn't created or destroyed, it just
Mm.
transforms, right?
Yeah.
So like that's kind of the thing. And then for a second, you're able to kind of mold it to this to what? Like what are you aiming for ultimately? Like is it art or is it functional, right? Or is it
Hmm.
design or is it just like an expression?
It's all of
Mhm.
it, which is so cool.
Cool.
You know, and it's so important actually, like the history of humanity. Clay is so
Right.
important,
Yes.
right? We've used it to,
I was gonna ask you about like how, a lot of artifacts are pottery and that like they've survived and it's
hmm
like helped us to kind of know about civilization, whether it was like 5,000 years ago
hmm
or something.
So
Yeah,
it
tell me
starts as
more.
this of like ephemeral moment, and then it goes through this transformation in fire, right? So there's a lot of similarities to like alchemy, right? You have earth, air, water,
Mhm.
fire in this one material. You need all
Yes.
of these
Yeah.
things for it to be completed. And it goes through this whole transformation, and it's like fragile and things can happen at any time. And it teaches you to like detach, but also keep trying, and things can
Wow.
break.
Well, yeah, I like that you kind of you mentioned the elements, right? And this is what
Mm.
I'm like I think just having a good sense of the four elements is so important even in the modern age,
Oh, yeah.
because basically yeah, they structure everything, right? And like you're saying, like I guess I never thought of pottery or ceramics that way. But yeah, so it comes from the earth, right? This raw material. Then it's molded by water as well as fire, right? Fire and water,
But also air, right?
and
Because
then
it has
air.
to
That's what I was gonna
dry,
ask.
like you
Yeah.
do things at different stages.
Mhm.
So, and there's also like air kind of in the clay still, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Do
and
you
then on fires at the end,
and
right?
the fire at the end, like, is there some sort of like yeah, I guess so you would cool it with air at the end, right? Or something like you would blow on it or
Oh
something,
yeah, I mean you do
right?
need to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you just gotta let it cool for like long periods of time, and then you can take it
Right.
out
Okay. Interesting.
of the kiln because you
Yeah.
can't take it out too soon. Yeah, I just wanted to put in a fun fact that they use ceramic on spaceships too.
On spaceships?
Yeah,
Whoa.
isn't that crazy?
No, tell me more. Like why or how?
I mean, I think it's because it's like crystallized, right? It's like durable in certain ways. It's like both
Hmm.
really long lasting and durable, but also can be fragile, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think it's just it can withstand high heat. It like I think it just can withstand elements, right? It's not going to
Yeah.
decompose or it's like opposed to like wood or something, right? Or even like plastic is easy to melt. Like metal is bendable,
Hmm.
right? Where ceramics is not. Um, so I don't, I'm not 100% sure about like industry. I don't mean toilets and bathtubs and, all
Yeah.
these things.
They're
So
like
it's just
ceramics
so
kind of, right?
they are made of ceramics, right? They're made of porcelain. They're like slip
Hmm.
casted porcelain. Um,
Wow.
or like a lot of sinks are as well. Um, So yeah, it's in house paint. Like it's really around us all the time. It's in
Yeah.
like face, makeup
Hmm.
and face masks and just so many things. It's around us all the time.
Yeah, I
And it's
guess.
been
Yep.
serving us for all of human history, right? Like food storage, record keeping, ceremonial objects, ritual objects, housing, you
Yeah.
know?
This is
Like it
so cool.
really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Like
And
I'm
actually,
glad you're here to open up this like world for us because you're right. It's like hidden in plain sight, right?
it
Hmm.
is. It
Yeah.
really is hidden in plain sight. Well, okay, so one thing real quick about the history, like the oldest kiln site ever found was in Czech Republic. And it was also found with the oldest shamanic burial that we know of in archaeology. So we have this kiln, and right near it is, and she was a woman, by the way, which is just a fun fact. But so she was found like hugging a fox skeleton and like with mammoth shoulder bones and turtle shells all around her. And also these like both pottery and animal figurines, like hundreds of them, like ritually smashed around her. And there was another barrel a little further with three different people too, just on the side. But I just think that's so interesting.
Yeah, wait, so this was like a ceremonial burial rite that they had,
Hmm.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
so.
So I think about that sometimes. So like take the cave of Lascaux, right? People think in archaeology that what they were doing is something called sympathetic magic, where by representing something, they were calling that energy in,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
they're, painting their prey in the hunt and successful hunts and things like
Love it.
that to like
Yeah,
bring,
that
more of that
energy.
energy into the
Right.
material plane and then like
Right.
manifesting that, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but then in the breaking, I just wonder if that's like they were like sending maybe the spirit of those things up with her or something. Like I don't know for sure, right? I guess we couldn't know exactly why they did it, but just thinking about it.
Well,
Because usually when you break something, you're releasing it, right?
yeah, I'm glad you said sympathetic magic. That's super interesting, and I think it's just such a good idea, like the law of correspondence,
Mm.
basically like as above, so below, so as
Hmm.
in heaven, so on earth, right? So
Yeah,
in other words, like
exactly.
there is this, or at least it would allude to, like there's other planes of existence on which like we also exist, right?
Hmm.
And so you think it was something like that? You think basically they would make like sculptures and then kind of like help them with their hunt, or maybe assure safe passage in like the afterworld or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, think of people being buried with things and stuff. Again, I don't know for sure. It's just my
Yeah,
own
yeah, yeah.
little meandering about that specific
So who was
site.
this
But
this woman? This was
yeah,
where?
there was a kiln right nearby.
Okay.
Um,
What's a kiln? I'm sorry, what's a kiln?
oh, it is. It's what it's called fire, right? It's like bake, but we say fire.
Oh, okay. Right.
And yeah, it's essentially like the oven, right? But the
Right.
ceramics word for it is a kiln, and they're all
Cool.
different types of kilns.
So you teach ceramics
Yeah,
now?
so
You're a
I
teacher?
actually I got a BFA in ceramics, but I also got a bachelor's in art education.
Wow.
Um, Yeah, I was like, and I love teaching, but the
Impressive.
public school system, and honestly get overstimulated easy. So like being in a room full of 30 children is a little overwhelming for me.
What
Even though
like
it's
what's the age range that you're teaching in?
so now, yeah, so I decided I didn't want to teach in public school, right, because of these
Mm-hmm.
reasons. And also all the art
Mm-hmm.
teachers I met were really miserable because they didn't have enough time to focus on their art. And they felt like they were like giving their energy away and like didn't
Yeah.
have enough creativity for themselves, all these things. But I was almost at the end of it. Like I only had like two classes left. So I was
Hmm.
like, you know what? And I talked to my professors about it, and they were like, if you like weren't doing well, I would say maybe drop the major, but you're doing so good. It's worth finishing. So then I just picked up a BFA also on the side.
Nice,
Um,
nice. That's
and then
amazing.
stayed.
That's
I
so
stayed in.
cool.
I just felt like
I
I
really
didn't have
respect
enough
that.
time.
For sure. And in general, I guess it's something we could get into, is just the state of the education system right now. I feel like
Mm,
it's degenerating, or like you know what I mean? Like falling apart right in front of our
yeah,
eyes, right? I think it's like
yeah,
something that so many of us, had to grow up, and like we kind of knew it, right? We kind of felt it so many times. I was like, I hated going to school. It's like, why are you making me
yeah.
like go to school? But I mean, I
Hmm.
did it, and there were good things about it. There were definitely benefits, mostly just like socially, and especially because like I moved around a lot when I was younger, and so
Hmm. Hmm.
it was kind of like, I guess, being in a place where you could meet, what I mean, people and stuff like that. But in general, I'm just seeing so many of like our generation, like so many kids these days that
Hmm.
the parents are specifically homeschooling them, and it looks like it's becoming more and more of a thing. Like almost everyone doesn't want to send their kids to public school anymore, right? Have you
Right.
been kind of catching on to that
Yeah, I
trend
mean,
a
I
little
think it's
bit?
just a breaking point, you know?
Hmm.
Like learning should be fun. Like I think people are naturally curious, right?
Yes, for sure.
Um,
Definitely.
and and two things like my art education program, which was really good. I'm mostly focused on the Montessori model.
Okay, cool.
Um, and so that's like divergent rather than convergent pedagogy, right? Like encouraging like out of the box thinking and like finding
Mm,
your own answers
hmm.
and following your own interests rather
Yeah,
than, like everything has to kind of come together to be the same, like pointing to a singular point. And if you don't get that point, you're not doing well in school,
love it.
right?
Yes, totally.
And then, also just interests, like following your own interests, you get a lot more freedom.
Hmm.
And then usually there's like multiple age groups and they like teach each other. So it's like choice-based learning, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Just like
and
art, kind of, right? In a way.
exactly, and it keeps
Hmm.
like your creative brain continuing to develop, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the way the school system is, we actually lose that over time
Oh my gosh, I
because we're
know.
getting so trained to like, think a certain way instead of
Hmm.
being trained how to think. You're being trained
Yes,
what to think,
totally.
right?
Yeah.
And also, there's a study done by NASA a bit ago where, they were trying to find a way to find like the next geniuses
Mhm.
early on, right? So
Okay.
that they can recruit them earlier or something like that.
Yeah.
So, one of the tests they used was how many ways, like, so they were measuring creativity, right? Like divergent thinking, because that's what you need for innovation, you know?
Mhm. Yep.
If you're going to make a breakthrough, you need to think beyond what's already been thought, you know?
Totally.
Um, So they had these children like see how many different ways they can use a paperclip. And whenever there was like 98% of kids when they were younger could come up with like 100 ways to use it. And then so 98% of kids like really young, they considered the potential to be geniuses or were geniuses. But as they tracked these kids as they aged and through the school system,
Wow.
that
Mhm.
percentage got lower and lower and lower and lower.
Totally.
Um, Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it was more like training to be um, workers in industries and in
Mhm.
factories.
Yeah, it's coming out
Um,
now, right? With how they made the whole public education system in order to make basically to manufacture employees, right?
mhm.
Like you don't, yeah, exactly. You're not taught how to be creative or how to be a leader. You're taught to just follow the authority figure and just regurgitate information and like compete with those around you, right? Like who gets the A plus or whatever. And it's like that kills creativity for the other 95% of the class, right? Because then they feel like they're
Mhm.
not good enough, right?
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. It
Yeah, grades. Man, it's just a whole.
Yeah, but we're in such a good place that we're actually like waking up to this as as a
Yeah.
species, as a humanity, like finally, right? I think it's so exciting
Yeah.
to be alive right now, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
it's like we gotta learn,
Definitely.
we gotta recognize the bad in order to become, or at least go towards like the good, right? You gotta know where the dark is and where the light is in order to like navigate.
Yeah.
So it's so good that we're waking up to this, yeah.
But yeah, so I teach in
So
community arts now. 'Cause
okay.
again, like I love teaching, but I just didn't want to be a public school teacher. So I
Yes.
teach like
Amazing.
kids from like 5 to senior
Hmm.
citizens,
Oh,
right?
really? So all
Yeah.
types of kids, right?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty crazy. But really cool because you can see how people like I can see the whole range, right?
Yeah.
And see what, kids are like and see what adults are like. And not all kids are like this, but a lot of kids have very free creativity, right? Like most kids. And the only ones that, are having a tough time with it are typically because they're being overly perfectionistic or I don't know, like you can tell so much about someone's psyche through how they make art.
Right,
Like
right.
how scared are they to express themselves? How scared are they? Like, how do they compare themselves to others? Like, is
Mm,
it a struggle for them? Do they have fun? Is it like a freeing experience? Are they worried what other people think? You
totally.
know,
Yeah.
like how how easily frustrated do they get? Like how quickly do they give up if they have a hard time with something?
Well, definitely, it's I mean, it's so therapeutic to make art. Like I've always said this, like it's how we discover ourselves, who we really are. I mean, so many,
Yeah.
when you create a piece of art, it's like, you have to be in that place where it's just coming out of you. And then like later you look at it and then you can make like judgments about, oh, I was in like a very, dark place or whatever. But like the
Right.
point of art is to just let it come out as it is, like in its raw form, right? Like just
Yeah.
whatever it is. And that's kind of like this process of self-discovery, which can be uncomfortable for sure. I
Yeah.
think
It can
this
be
is
really
why
scary.
people might, I feel like people don't want to do art because they're afraid to face themselves ultimately, right? Although I think it could be scary for some people.
Mm. Hmm.
Fortunately or not, it's really the only way to evolve and to progress and to grow as
Yeah.
a person,
Yeah, at least
right?
some
Would you
form of
agree?
expression, like you need to
Mhm.
make what's inside come out somehow, right?
Yes.
Like you need to make the unconscious conscious because it really is like diving into your unconscious.
Hmm.
Like you're figuring out what's in there. Like
Right.
Carl Jung, with his patients, had them do drawings, usually like mandalas, right? And he found
Yeah.
that, earlier on when they're more fractured, their mandalas would be fractured. And then as they,
Mm,
became more whole, they would have more symmetry, you know, they would evolve over
interesting.
time, and reflect their mental state. But I mean, I genuinely was kind of scared of my like I don't know, it's interesting because I was trying to remember when it started because I'm like, I didn't always feel that way. Like I would just make things, not really think about it too hard or worry about it being
Right.
good or not.
Hmm.
And just about, so many people that I know who are scared to make art. At some point, someone told them that they weren't good or like said something that they interpreted as like they would never be able to be good at this or they got
Mm.
criticized somehow. And that made them scared for like sometimes like the rest of their lives to try to do things that they really want to do, you know?
Hmm.
Like I have a
Yeah.
friend who like loves music and he never like learned to play an instrument because he had this music teacher that told him he'd never be good at it because he got no rhythm. And it's
Oh
like you
my
can learn,
gosh. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
up
So,
until
so
like 5 or something.
right. So like that's when the kind of the rebellious aspect comes in, right? A lot of like for me at least, I've been able to break through things like specifically because someone said I couldn't do it, I would do it, right? I would do it anyway. Does that make
Interesting.
sense? Like I
Yeah.
think like
It
that
does.
rebelliousness is such a
Yeah.
big part of art as well, like going against the grain, right? Going against what people want you
Hmm.
to do, you do your own thing completely, right?
Yeah. I do think, whether that is your reaction or not is very dependent on who you like, how you
Very
react to
telling.
it.
I'm a
You know what I
rebel. Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
most of my students, like, they just crumbled, right?
Mm,
And it's really interesting too because I teach wheel throwing, right? So making pottery on the wheel,
mm,
as well as sculpture, right? So I teach like the utilitarian side and the more fine art side.
mm.
And people are so much more scared of sculpture when they
They're
get
more scared
started.
of it. So that would be the fine art side, right?
Yeah, they'll be like, I'm not an artist. Like, I'm not a sculptor, you know? And then I'm like, did you ever try? Like, no. And I'm like, so how do you know?
Oh my
Because I
gosh,
think,
I would love to try some sculpting. I've never done it before, but like lately, yeah, I've been seeing these like I don't know these masters, like Da Vinci and
hmm
everything, and
mm,
Michelangelo, and like the stuff they made is so like detailed, and I'm just like, how
hmm
did you do that? It looks like like the texture looks soft, like I think I've heard that's one of the hardest things to sculpt is like fabrics and clothes
I
on
could definitely see
people.
that, especially a stone. I
Hmm.
mean, clay is a lot more easy to get moved around.
Hmm. Hmm.
You can, at least a lot more easy than, say, rock, like literally, like carving rock.
Yeah, it is like you're literally like you said, like etching this moment in time, and you're kind of freezing it, right?
Yeah.
So like. even yeah, I saw this sculpture the other day where the girl's hair was like, it looked like it's flowing, right? It looks like the wind is kind of
Hmm.
carrying it, but it's just like this photo, like it's just like instilled, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's a lot of, those are very skilled and still expressive, but like almost
Okay.
like a hyperrealism about them, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's just
but then,
something
like
to
there's,
work towards, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I don't know, like I had a professor say, a lot of times you need to learn to work really tight, like really detailed and build those skills and really formal before
Hmm.
you can really loosen up, you know?
Hmm.
Like you don't need, like say Picasso, right? Like he could draw realistically, but he chose at some point, he transitioned into this just very free, abstracted thing,
Mm.
without like trying to replicate something from the material
Yeah,
world. Exactly,
totally.
right? It's like saying something else. And not that that doesn't have value, the highly representational stuff. Like it can be so beautiful, it can capture all these things. But there are just, a lot of different valid ways to come at this one thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. You're kind of touching on this also this pattern that I've noticed with artists. Like you're saying, at first they're very like technical and precise and perfect, and I guess they're just trying to master the techniques of making art,
Hmm.
right? Or they're
Yeah.
copying, something they like, but like as they
Yeah.
progress, it becomes more abstract. They kind of like loosen the rules, so to speak, and they like,
Right.
Picasso. He said, good artists steal, or no, what was it? It was like good artists copy and great artists steal. No, wait, something like that,
Mm.
right?
I don't know that
um,
quote.
oh, okay, okay, okay. But like, yeah, in
But
his life, he became more abstract. Like the later things became more like, oh, like I can't even
right.
make sense of it, right? And it's so much more open to interpretation, maybe, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
why do you think a
Yeah.
lot of artists do that, like, or go take that path?
I mean, I guess part of it is just like what's inside of them, right? That wants to come through.
Mhm.
But that is a much later thing. You don't really see, I mean, you see detailed non-representational art, but it's not really until we start approaching the postmodern age that you start to see abstract art
Right.
become a thing, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Abstractionism. Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think part of it is because now we have ways to capture realism without,
Mm.
toiling away for 100 to 200 hours on something to make it. It takes a really long time
Yes.
to make something super realistic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like a hyper realistic painting. Now we have photography, you know.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, so I think that's part of it. Now we have this like freedom to do it. Although, I mean, we have been abstracting things, maybe I misspoke. I mean, think of like medieval art, right?
Well, right.
Um,
Well, now that we have, I think what you're saying is now that we have, like easier ways to create realistic art, like abstraction art becomes more valuable almost, right? Becomes more
yeah.
something people
Yeah, and there's
aspire
something
to in a
about
way.
capturing like the gestalt of the thing rather than like, I don't know,
Something hyper
trying to
specific.
capture the specificity of the thing,
Yeah.
and it is more
Yes.
open to interpretation. And my theory is like, because we're talking about how it comes through you, not from you, right?
Hmm.
Although maybe it's both. They say that. I mean, I think the inspiration, maybe it's a collaboration, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
the idea, I think, definitely like moves through you, but then it's through the lens of what's inside of you. You know what I mean? Like,
Of
so it's
course.
like you
Right.
get out of the way in a way, but it's still through like your lens, like your particular channel to the muse, right? It's like everyone's going to be unique. Um,
It makes me think of that painting. No, well, that artist. I'm trying to remember his name, but it was literally just like, he made a bunch of them.
like
Where
Jackson
it's
Pollock.
He's a really good one. Yeah, he's really good. But there was one, he made even more abstract stuff. I mean, I'm not talking about like the what is it, the black square, that one, right? Where it's
Mhm.
literally just a black square. There's this guy, I think his name is like Marco something, Mark something.
Rothko?
Anyways, yes, Rothko. That's
Mm,
exactly the
mhm.
guy.
And
Yes.
it's so beautiful and people love that, and it's so different.
Yeah, right.
So you're
It's
just
just
focusing on like the color and like the gesture, right? And like what do you interpret from that? But there's a whole wide range. And my personal theory is that, we tap into other dimensions when we make art, right?
mhm, mhm.
And if you've had experiences where you're like traveling through other dimensions, whether through a substance or, I had some crazy experiences doing yoga and breath work. Like it's in you. You can access it no matter what you do if you try. Um,
Okay. Yes,
but
totally.
there's, there's like fractal patterns, and then there's like, more dimensions of the spiritual plane that like look different, right? Like they're not all the same. There's different visuals in the different layers. So
Mhm,
for
mhm.
me, I'm like, I feel like maybe people are just tapping into different dimensions.
So maybe could we like form a theory here? Maybe it's like the more abstract you get, the more you get to like the fundamental like geometry of like creation.
Yeah, that
Um,
does make sense. And yeah, I don't know. Because I
could
guess
that
it
be it?
could be, higher plane because it's, because I think about it as, um, they're like primordial spirits, right? That like fraction out, like the fundamentals, like the nature of our reality being like earth, air, water, fire, right?
Hmm, hmm.
Something like that. And then we
Everything could
like
be broken
branch
down
out
to
from that. We're made of that, but that's like a fundamental, but then we branch off and become all these different things.
right, right.
Um, so that definitely could be it. And it makes sense that um, it's seen as like super highbrow, right? To make like edgy abstract. Like that's like the fancy thing. And right now in
People, yeah.
ceramics, there's like sloppy craft, which is like de-skilling and just like going straight and not really worrying about being representational or like trying to express skill. It's more just like bringing the idea in, right?
Right, right.
Because like fine art, like painting, yeah, like painting, then kind of like
Mhm,
sculpture, and maybe like drawing and printmaking. Maybe like drawing is kind of more up here. It's like the really fancy highbrow stuff. And
mhm,
then, you get into the crafts and it was seen as like lower because there's like an intermediary between you and the idea. Whereas like other things are seen as a more direct, like conceptual and had less to do with like material.
mhm.
Um, but that's changing a lot, right? So like now clay is becoming seen as a fine art. Really, because it was always seen as like utilitarian and traditional, right?
Mm, mhm.
And there was a whole movement called the California Funk movement, um, where you really like broke through that. I think it was the 70s. I want to say it was the 70s that really started.
Sounds like it, the funk movement, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, there's this guy named Peter Volkes who's seen as like the first one, and who's the first one? I don't know. He's like just like the known one,
Okay.
who used ceramics in a different way, where he just like, he wasn't being utilitarian about it. He made these more like gravity defying things where he let the clay dry more for certain times and had these like things jutting out and very abstracted. And it really started this big movement in the world of ceramics and going from, being seen both as craft and as fine art. And this is part of the reason why there's this like big love affair between American ceramics and Japanese ceramics,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
There's a huge love
sure.
affair. There's a
Okay.
huge one.
Tell us about that. What's the difference? Yeah.
I don't know. Well, Japanese pottery tends to be on the looser side of things. Like there's a phrase called wabi sabi, like
I
beauty
know
in
wabi sabi.
perfection.
Wabi sabi is beautiful.
Right.
Yes,
We
totally.
talk about
Yeah.
this all the time in ceramics. It's like cliche.
Yep.
But it's
Love
also really
wabi sabi.
traditional and there's like lineages, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very highly respected and like gestural brushwork and it's taken very seriously over there.
Yeah.
But then a lot of Japanese people have felt bound by tradition and like they couldn't express their individuality because their culture is so community based, and like less on the individual, right?
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
and like
Which
there's
could
this
be
idea,
more abstract. You could see it as more abstract,
like
maybe in a
less
way. Right?
personalized, maybe.
Less specific, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, no, that's cool. I never thought of it that way, but yeah. Um, but yeah, feeling like stifled, right? And then you have
Mm-hmm.
this breakthrough in American ceramics where it's like free expression,
Oh, okay.
and the two like love each other, right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
like you
Yeah.
have like even like Van Gogh, right? His like painting of cherry blossoms was really inspired by Japanese prints.
Mm.
Um, so it's been happening for a long time, and I think part of it is that we have the same seasons. We have the same influences, but there's this thing called the Mingei movement um, that started. I want to say like closer to the early 90s, after the as the Industrial Revolution was going on, a little after. Sometime around then, there's this thing called the Mingei movement, where people from England, just specifically in ceramics history, this one guy, Bernard Leach, and he traveled to Japan and ended up becoming friends with this like philosopher named Yanagi, and this really well-known potter named Hamada, who is like a living legend in Japan.
Wow.
He's passed now, but he was. And Bernard Leach trains with Hamada, and he was actually the last apprentice of this lineage called from the Kenzan family that you can be traced back all the way to Ethiopia, Japan.
Wow.
And then they brought those ideas back to England. Um, and so it's just like it was supposed to be a revival of the folk craft as a response to the Industrial Revolution because it was like
Mhm.
killing the crafts. And you have the arts and crafts movement with William Morris that was also like and
Wow.
influenced this. And what's so crazy
Okay. Okay.
is that I actually got trained by someone who, like, a few degrees of separation ties into this lineage, which is just like bananas.
Amazing. Yeah,
So,
I was
yeah,
gonna say I've always loved appreciated Japanese art just in
yeah,
general. And I just feel like they've added so much I guess culture to the world in general, it's been such an inspiration, for me for sure.
yeah.
So was that so you were trained by is this a pottery or a
Yeah,
ceramics
so it's a
lineage?
like traditional pottery master apprentice model, right? So my teacher, her name is Miranda Thomas, also known as Wink. She's so
Okay,
funny.
cool.
So she went to college in England, and she ended up being an apprentice, one of the only female apprentices with this guy when she was in her 20s. She's like in her late 60s now, I think, something like that. Um, and yeah, she ended up training with him in like the English countryside, and he trained under Bernard Leach, that guy who, kind of was instrumental in starting this movement and went and studied in Japan, but also with English folk potters. And he also spent a long time in Africa. So he has a wide range of things.
So,
Um,
could you tell us maybe give us some insights that you learned that were passed down like directly from him? Like, is that something?
mm,
Was there something specific that you learned from that experience? Just wondering, because they go back so long ago. They have so much experience, right? So there must, I mean,
mhm.
there's a reason you went to this person to get
Yeah, I mean, it
trained in
happened
it,
very
right?
serendipitously. Like,
Okay.
it's called being a production potter too. And as soon
Mm,
as I heard that that was the thing, I was like, I want to do that. Like, and in Japan, they take it really seriously. Like,
okay.
it's just like, so you make a lot, right? So
Mm,
you're essentially making your master's work. Try, like kind of what we're saying when you're starting, you want to copy, right?
yeah.
So it's like passing down the techniques.
Like literally through the art, like literally by making that same art, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Love it.
techniques and materials, sometimes imagery, right? Traditional imagery that gets passed
Yeah.
down. But yeah, so a lot of skill building for sure, because you just do over and over and over again,
No, no, that
right?
makes sense. It's something I wanted to say before about when we were talking about abstract art is that like it seems like it's becoming less intellectualized, you know, it's becoming like less in the grip of the ego, so to speak, you know.
Mm,
It's
mm,
harder to kind of judge or to make a statement in words about it, and it becomes more about the feeling or the emotional experience of it, right? And so
right.
yeah, and actually going back, there's a question I really wanted to ask you as an art teacher
Yeah,
is
go for it.
you know, the reason I didn't go to college for art, and I really haven't taken a lot of art classes, to be honest. But like I've always had this thought that you know, you want it to be raw. Like it's I personally have had this thought that it's you can't teach someone how to be creative. You can't teach
Mm,
someone how to kind of like, you know, open up that channel in themselves. It's something that they have to discover on their own. So I've always had this contradictory thought about like how do you teach someone to do art, right?
mm, mm-hmm.
So I mean, I know I'm challenging you a little bit here,
No,
right?
no,
I
this
hope
is a
that's
great question.
okay.
Oh, yeah,
I
no,
just wanted to kind
this is
of
my jam.
ask you that. Yeah, like what do you
Yeah,
have to
well,
say about
I would say that I think it's a collaboration, right? Like the person has to be
that?
willing to go there, but that you can help guide them, like primarily through encouragement, right?
Okay, okay,
And
yeah.
my personal like you they can have an idea and you can help them expand on the idea and be like, it
But
seems like you're trying to say this. Why don't we can look in this direction? But the actual process of creativity, like I believe it's already in there. You know what I mean? So you can help them open that channel. Um, so I tend to teach in a Montessori model where I'm not just like telling them exactly how to do it. Like I'll do skills, right? I'll show techniques,
okay,
but I always am like, how would you do it? Right? Because sometimes people
yeah,
don't
yeah.
really, there's different types of people. Some people want to do
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you do, and some people want to just like have no rules. And
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like my style of teaching is more like passing the word, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes I won't even show them things. I'll just talk to them and I'll
Passing
be
the
like,
word,
do you know what that means?
sort of. No, I feel like I should know.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like a spiritual concept, right? So saying like Hermeticism,
yeah.
um, like any kind of like mystery tradition, it's like passing an energy to them
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
more than and like someone has to come to them to come to the conclusion on their own. Like
Well,
it's why like wizards speak in riddles, right? You can't just tell someone
yeah,
straight up.
I guess I have this intuition, like even the passing of an energy, right? It does affect their original conception, so to speak. Like it is gonna kind of affect, you know, their journey, right? So it doesn't become their journey anymore. It becomes more of like a shared. Do
I
you know
mean,
what I
you
mean?
always have to have a teacher. I mean, you don't have to have a teacher, but I mean, if what do you consider a teacher, right? Like life's a teacher, right? So it's always going to
Yeah.
be influenced by something.
Oh, that's
Like
true. That's
nothing is
true.
in a vacuum, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But I guess I
Right.
mean just like opening the like showing them the possibility of looking within themselves for the answer,
Mm,
right? And helping
mm,
them, when they have questions, you can like bounce back and forth and help inspire each other. But like my students will discover things, like they'll take a technique that I have and expand on it. And I'm like, whoa, I wouldn't have done it that way. Or like
mm.
kids, I'll teach a kid something, but I'm like, how would you do it? And they do it in a completely different way than I would have thought. And it totally works, Or like when I'm
Wow.
working on something, I love asking them for ideas on like, what should I add to this? Or what colors do you think? And they can really blow my mind, the things that they come up with
Mm,
that I would never think of, right?
yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know, just like little seeds, right, that they can help nourish within themselves. Um, but yeah, I guess it is it's always a collaboration. Like even in isolation, it's a collaboration, right? Because we're talking about communing, with the divine
Hmm.
by art making,
Yeah.
right? Like communing with the muse. So, um, yeah, I think it's just like helping people to open up, like maybe like a therapist, right? Like they can help, they just help you open the vulnerability and like help,
Oof.
ask questions and get you to think about what you think, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Wow.
Um, but typically they can't like tell you the exact answer. Like no one can tell you the exact answer, but they can, set up like the invitation to find your own answer
Hmm.
and just like, yeah, inspire you to look within yourself.
That's so good. I feel like I need to hear this. We're not in a vacuum. You're completely right about that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
that's
like
so
we
true.
never are. We're always connected, right? And I think it is
Yeah.
important to have boundaries. It is like, like we were talking about with when you're younger and someone tells you you're not good at something,
Hmm.
and then you like internalize that, right? And
Right.
that becomes what you believe about yourself because someone else said it, right?
Yeah, but
Let's
also
say if
right.
you have like a healthy self-conception and
Okay.
you like value your own opinion already, if someone tell like with you, you can rebel against it and like you have the confidence to do that. But a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
people don't,
Hmm.
right? Like
Really? Okay.
they
Hmm.
take it and that becomes their self-conception, right? Like there's a saying in Buddhism, which my friend who's at a Zen monastery corrected me about it, but the way I originally heard it,
Love
he's so
it.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Was I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I'm what I think you think I am.
Oof. Hmm. Wow.
Right. And that just really blew my mind. My friend was like, well, you aren't anything. You are what? Right. He's like, amness is not, it's
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
not
this is so
you.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, because
Right.
even like again we were talking about the abstract art and I don't know, I'm getting all these insights just by talking to you. It like but like my big thing is like all is one. Like I've just come to the conclusion that that's like the biggest wisdom in the whole universe, that we are all
Yeah.
together and that there's one source for everything, right? So
Hmm.
the more abstract you get, it almost seems like the more you get to that place, right? You get to that place where
Mm.
everything's the same almost in a way, right?
Yeah. It's
Where it's
like the
like there's
primordial soup that all things
yes,
emanate
there's
from.
no difference really, right? And it's like
Yeah.
as you look at someone else, what you see in someone else is what you're seeing in yourself. And then,
Yeah.
it could be interpreted in every single way possible. Like, the way
Yeah.
I'm not what I think I am, like I am what you think I am, but also like I
Yeah.
am what you think you are, but also you
Right.
are what I think I am, right? Like it's literally all those things at the same time.
But what I like about the part that's like, I am what I think you think I am,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like when you internalize someone else's perception of you, like that, like a false identity almost, right? It's like
But
not
how could
truly
you
who
how
you
could you
are.
know what another person thinks of you
Well, A, they
ultimately
might tell
anyway?
you, right? You suck. You
No,
suck at
even
this,
even then,
right?
even then, I read this quote one time, right? That you're never gonna know, never gonna know how much a person, you know, thinks how ugly they think you are or how beautiful you
Mm,
think you are. Even if they tell you,
yeah.
right? Even if they tell you, you're never gonna know the extent to how they feel about you.
Like it's ultimately you can't know the totality of anything, right?
Hmm.
But it's more about your interpretation, right? Because someone could say something and you take it a completely different way. And then you spend like,
Okay.
especially if
Yeah.
it's early on or really impactful, you could spend like, if you don't dig into your subconscious, your unconscious, that could form a big part of your identity and a big part of how you behave in the world for your whole
Just
life, you know?
right. Well,
Like
because
literally
of
your whole life.
how you interpret it ultimately.
Like say, when you're a kid and like your mom's super busy and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
you're trying
And
to
you just think
bother,
that's
you need
normal.
attention and she, blows you off because she's so in her head,
Oh my
any
gosh.
mom would do that, right? But
Yeah,
then like
yeah.
your little child self is like, she doesn't love me or like she's annoyed at me because I'm doing this when maybe she's just having a bad day, right? But then you like interpret that as like this quality about you or maybe even your whole fundamental self
Yeah.
is this way
Oh my
that
gosh.
it's
Just speaking a
ultimately
story
like
of my life. That's
no,
exactly,
it's
yeah.
just we do, right? We really
Yeah,
do that. And so much
definitely.
of us are walking around in the world with these things that aren't ours to carry. right? They aren't who we really are. But it's our self-perception of who we are because of what
Mm-hmm.
someone else told us that we are.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting mirrored back things, right?
Right.
But also like you know you better than anyone else, no matter what, you know?
Yep. Hmm.
Like
Definitely.
you're the only one in your skin and in your psyche. So
And
it's
the
like
word
trusting your own. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no. I was just gonna just add to that is like the worst thing is like blaming someone else. You know what I mean? I think like that's what I've been coming to understand. It's like blaming this other person, whether it's your mom or your dad or whoever, for like
Right.
giving you this problem, you know, and we just keep in that mindset of blame of just like, oh, it's their
Right.
fault. And because of that, we don't take our power back. We forget who we are because we're living off of like, you know, proving it to someone else or something, right? And
Yeah,
that
whatever it
makes us
is.
become that thing that we don't want to be, right?
Yeah, and it's
Like,
important to remember that they received it too. Like whatever
yeah,
maladaptive, untrue thing.
right.
It's just been passed down for, however long, right?
Hmm.
And I mean,
Hmm.
even think about like collective humanity, like tribalism or something. Like collectively, we've been holding that since our origin, right? We've always had
Hmm.
in-group and out-group fighting. But
Right.
like I think now we're like come to this conclusion that, oh, we're all one, right? Like I think this is like part of this, like I like to call it more of a remembrance, right? Because like we're talking about like forgetting who you really are, but like we all
Hmm.
forget who we really are when we come into this world, right? That's
Yeah,
under
the
the veil,
spiritual amnesia,
Yeah.
right?
And it's
Yeah.
like the
Hmm.
more you go into your unconscious, like with my experiences, I mean, like my spiritual experience has been so crazy and so cool.
Oh my God, I want to get into all that stuff. Honestly, I do. I feel like we have to, you know,
Yeah, let's rein it back.
set the
Um,
boundary. No, actually,
yeah.
you know, you're making me think of something because you said, you know, we all forget who we are, right? And in a way, just it just made me think like I don't know, I just had this insight just right now. It's like, well, ultimately there's no time, right? Like
Mm,
there's no
hmm
time. So in a way,
hmm
like who who could we have been in the past or something? Like if that doesn't
hmm
actually even exist, right? Like there's
Yeah, I
no
mean, it
past
does
or
exist though, right?
well,
It
how does it
does, like
exist?
on this
I know it
dimension.
does, and it's like such
Yeah.
an important concept in our waking life and everything, right?
hmm
But what is it then? What is time, and what is the purpose of memory? You know,
hmm
and
hmm
history, like
hmm
why is that so important? I feel like it is really important, something we have to
Yeah.
really like, you know, like understand, grasp, or maybe kind
Yeah.
of wrangle with, you know, kind of like wrestle with. So
hmm
like what is
Yeah.
time then? Yeah, this is just something maybe in my own head. I come to this point where it's
No,
like, well,
yeah. No,
it's
it's a great
always
question.
only been now, right? I know that for a fact. Like this is the bigger truth that I'm trying to like hold on to, is that like the moment, the ephemeral, well, no, I mean again, ephemerality depends on
Yeah.
time, doesn't it? You know, it's not that there's a
Yeah,
series of
because
moments. There's
yeah.
only this moment right now, right? So what is time?
Yeah.
Could you answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, like, so there's a linear quality to it, right? In the way that we experience it.
Mm,
So it's like a
yes.
paradox, right? It both exists, like it does exist. We experience it, so it does exist. Like, and this is what I've kind of come to, like, yes, this place is an illusion, but it's also real too.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
not real and it's real. Like
Hmm.
we experience it and
Right,
we
it's
have this
both.
experience about we feel separate and we are separated in a certain capacity, right? Through this forgetting and through this like separation from our true self. But we're also
Hmm.
not, we're still all one, right? But I think that linearity is necessary for growth, right? Because if you're having a
Mm,
simultaneous experience of everything, like you're not, you can't have a reflection of it, right? You
yeah,
can't like see yourself if you're everything, like you need these different facets of this thing
true,
in order to
definitely.
grow,
Yep.
right? So we have this like gap and like, like I think in other dimensions there's like instant manifestation. Like you think it's there, right? Like we think about
Yes.
manifestation here, and it's true. I feel like you definitely can manifest things. Like I feel like I manifested working at that pottery because it's so synchronistic
Mm,
and random,
mm,
it was a truly random experience. But there's like, you have the belief, and then it still takes time. It has to move through these different things, and you learn all these things along the way, right?
yeah, totally.
So I think it's like necessary for growth. And with memory, I think You know, like we kind of have to forget in order to be able to focus. Again, a separation from all that we've known, right? And I think on some level we do. And, you know, we come
Mm,
in here with these natural proclivities and talents for things. And I don't think that comes from nowhere, right? It's like things that we've worked on through several lifetimes or maybe 1,000 lifetimes, right?
mm,
Working on this one thing like a natural talent, I believe is just something that you've cultivated through lifetimes, right?
mhm.
um or you know, even if you've just cultivated like the openness to like channel from the divine, right? That takes practice in this dimension,
Oh, it does,
right?
doesn't it? Yeah. Mm,
hmm so I believe it's more of just like, yeah, um what we need in order to have lessons. And it's too much information to hold too at one time. I mean, think of just like holding this lifetime, like all the trauma you experienced and like all these memories of different things and like
yeah.
how difficult that can be to carry. Like if you had access to all of your past lives in this lifetime automatically, like think of how difficult that would be,
Well,
you know?
so how do you, this is something I was literally just thinking about this last night. Like, I feel like I wanted, like, at this point, I want to do like a past life regression or something. Like, how would you tap
Mm.
into those, those the lives that you've had in the past, because I feel like I've had a lot
hmm
of them, but like,
Oh yeah,
how do
definitely.
people remember them? Like, you have to get into a certain
Yeah.
meditation
I
or
mean, there are a
something,
lot of
or like,
techniques, right? And hypnosis is one where you have a practitioner working with you. Um, and I've done that before and it's really cool. But
yeah.
I personally have had this through the practices, through meditation and yoga and breath work, and just like deep inner seeking. Um, I do remember a lot of my past lives actually. And it started, you know, it hasn't always been that way. Like, I'm not one of those people who, like, all my spiritual things have been open since I was a little kid. You know what I mean? Some people are like that, and that's really cool. But you know, I think it depends on whatever your intention and like how your life path
It's a
was going
journey,
forward.
right? So
It's a
like
journey.
I would
Yeah.
love to hear some of your past lives. Like, how, like, what do you remember about them, or like how did you
Oh
get
my
to
God.
them?
Yeah.
If you can, if you have a lot of, you don't have to share
I'll
all of them.
share a little bit, a little bit. I'll share some of my
Okay.
first experiences. So, yeah, it really started like I've always really felt like I've never felt afraid of death in my entire life. I've always like felt like, you know, have these experiences where like you meet someone and you're like, wow, this like when you're like instant best friends with somebody, you know,
Yeah,
or
totally.
like
Love that.
you meet the love of your life and you're like something feels so familiar
And
and
you
you feel
get
like you've
married the
known
next
them.
day, right, or something.
You know, I haven't experienced
Yeah.
this, but I
Wait,
hear.
really? Oh, okay. No, me
Um,
neither. But well, like falling in love, right? That's always an interesting topic, right? Especially like meeting
oh,
someone, just feeling
yeah.
like you have that connection right away, right? Or it's just like easy to
hmm
talk to them, or it just like flows really, just like,
Yeah,
wow,
or just, you
right?
know, not even necessarily romantic love, like, you know, friendship love, like all kinds of love,
Yeah,
right?
totally, totally.
Or even like a certain kinship with someone in your family, or, you know, just something, I don't know, just,
Some people you get along with, some people you don't, right? Kind of thing. Just
yeah.
like,
I think about it as like being closer, um, like on the soul tree, right? Like being like twigs off the same branch versus maybe like
interesting.
on the same branch on the trunk or something like that. Like you
Right,
can like
right.
your soul composition be like closer or further. But I don't know. It's just kind of my theory about it.
Yeah, that's interesting you said that. Have you heard of I don't know, I kind of learned this new concept pretty recently about souls. When we think of souls, we think like, oh, I have a soul, like you have a soul. But apparently, I don't know, did we talk about this already? How apparently there's, yeah, like you said, there's branches, like souls apparently materialize in sets of like
We
six or
might have talked about this on
12.
the phone,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think, when we
I
talked
think
last time, the first time.
we touched on it, yeah, but I just thought that was such a revolutionary way to think about it. Like, I just never thought about it that
Yeah.
way before. But there's something that makes sense to it, right? Especially when it's kind of like you think of a tree and there's the one trunk, right? And then there's like all these, there's like first there's branches that come off of that, then there's branches that come off of those branches, and that's kind of like almost like a
Yeah.
better way to look at all of this. That it's like there's separation, but we're all still connected in some very
Yeah.
fundamental way. Like,
And that's the tree of life, right? Like
yes,
the archetypal tree of life that's present in so many different mystic traditions,
in every tradition, totally.
right?
Love it. Yeah.
And yeah, and like we're talking about time, right? And how like we experience this linearity of time, but
Hmm.
also another dimension that doesn't exist, or our soul can be is like incarnate in multiple times and places and lifetimes. Like ultimately it's all at once, future, past, like you can tap into all these different things, right?
Hmm.
So you could even meet yourself in this life, right? Like someone who's, slightly having a different experience for sure, and like not the
Totally.
same version
Totally.
of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if time
Yeah.
is kind of irrelevant, right, then it's like we could be living multiple lives in the same
Because it's all
scary
in this
movie.
moment, right? It's all
Well,
in this
yeah,
moment,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
everything,
But people
like we were
say
talking
past
about.
lives, right? And again, it's like
Yeah,
this
right. But I
concept
think
of
it's still
AI.
relevant, right? Like, to explain things. Like we can hold this truth of timelessness and oneness, but this truth of separation and linearity is also true in a certain way, right?
Right.
And I think it's useful to use things by their specific name with also the knowledge of their universal name, because it's different aspects of the same reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a
Mm-hmm.
couple friends who, like I, commune with nature spirits and have worked with different deities and things like that. And, I have some friends that just focus on God
Mm-hmm.
itself, right? They just want to speak with God. They just want to pray to God,
Mm-hmm.
and ask help from God, right?
Right. Right.
But I think that these different, everything is God, right?
Yeah.
So, it's
In
like
different
our
faces,
names
different
have a
forms.
utility, like calling you Dimitri instead of like I could call you God, which you are, divinity incarnate,
Oh, why?
but
Thank
it's
you.
useful to have a name,
Mhm.
right? It's useful to have a name.
You're
So,
God too. Yeah. It's
no, we
like
all are, right? This desk is God, this couch is God, like everything is, right? It's ultimately
y-
this like divine
yeah.
energy of all things. Like oneness includes everything,
No, no, you're right.
right?
That is the ultimate truth, right? But like I think you've alluded to a few times is that um there is like this almost needed separation. I've thought about this so much, but like for us to experience each other or like different things around us or different people, like we need an individuality, like this limited concept of who I like who
Right,
the character that I'm playing right on the stage of
right.
life of the world. It's like a big theater, right? And
Hmm.
we're all playing our roles. That's
Yeah, like
why.
Shakespeare said, right?
Yes,
Life is a
exactly.
play and we are the actors, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's right. And
Yeah.
I've heard it said a different way too, that we're not just the actors in our play, we're
Mm,
also the director, we're also the writer,
mm.
and we're the audience as well.
Yeah, so like how can it's like how you can't see yourself without a mirror, like physically, right? Like you can see your like hands and you can see parts of yourself, but you can't see your whole self without something to reflect back,
Yes, totally.
right? So it's like we need each other to understand ourselves too,
That's right.
on
That's
a
right.
deeper
Yeah.
level. Like I
Yep.
really believe that like each person I've met has shown me a different facet of myself. And
And
a different
yeah,
facet of them and a different facet of like the nature of reality, right? Because like
no,
we're all holding
totally.
this unique
Unique,
perspective.
well, like role, right? I think
Yeah,
that concept really like helps me understand it like a lot, is that like you're playing the role of Jackie right now, right? Like
right.
you're here at this time with with everything that you are, and you're
Yeah.
here to play a very important role, in the stage. Like I don't know, for me,
Hmm.
like you're the guest on my podcast right now. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's for me, it's a big deal.
Oh,
I
I love
really
it. It's
appreciate
my
that you're
first
here.
podcast. I'm having so much fun. I'm a
So
professional
cool.
yapper as told. Well, I do teach, like teaching is like I'm talking, explaining things for a
Dude,
living.
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think teachers are leaders, at least like they should be, right? So,
Mm. And I mean, I don't think you can fully, understand something without teaching it personally. Like if you can't
mhm.
explain it, I don't think there's like a total, you haven't reached the totality of how you understand something. And not that we can ever fully reach totality, but yeah, I just think that, I know again, a lot of this is just like my personal theory, but say, have you heard this concept like 10,000 hours
Yeah,
to get good
yeah.
at something, right? Like the Malcolm Gladwell from the tipping
Yeah,
point.
he was a tech
Um,
blogger, right? So he was a blogger about technology, I think. And
mm,
yep. Okay.
so my addition to his theory is like 2,000 hours of teaching. I don't know, to like blow me faster or
Oh,
something. That's just my
cool.
personal addition. I don't even know where I got the number 2,000. It's just
That's
like an
great.
intuition
That's
about it, but
great.
who knows?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, like my students teach me things all the time, right? Like I understand my work better by it being reflected back to me. Like I get insights into
Yeah.
techniques. And for me, like I said, like a lot of people have done this before, right? So for me, I feel like when I'm like quote unquote passing the word to someone, I'm like on some level they already know, right? And they know in a way that only they can know.
But
And
you're
I'm
playing
just
the role of kind of like being the
just like
spokesperson for
opening the
it,
door, like
or
inviting
yeah.
them through the door, right? I can't
Yeah,
force
yeah,
them
yeah.
through the door,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but just an invitation, right? Like, hey, there's something inside of you that's worth seeking. Because
Hmm.
a lot of people don't believe that, right? Um, and like, I think that's part of why people are scared of their own expression and creativity. Like, what if I'm not worthy, right? Like, I kind of see all these ailments and like issues as just ultimately like, am I worthy of love, right? Like, I just feel like so many things, like even being arrogant or being narcissistic or being competitive, it's like, if I'm this, I'm worthy of love, right? I'm only worthy of love if I can continue with praise or I
Mm.
get, given to, or I'm only worthy of love if I give everything away, or if I'm smart, or if there's something within me that's worth seeing or hearing or listening to. So I really think that's a lot of where the fear comes from. Like, am I worthy?
Hmm.
Um, and
Well,
it's like you
you are
are.
definitely worthy. Like everyone
Everyone
is.
is.
Yeah.
Literally everyone.
Yeah.
Like everyone has something inside them that only they can say. But yeah, so talking about past lives a little bit, and then also you can tap into future lives, which is pretty buck wild.
Future lives.
Um,
Oh my goodness. Okay.
yeah, right? Because it's all nonlinear, like in another dimension, right?
Hmm.
So why wouldn't you be able to tap into a future life,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Or a parallel
Um,
life,
or a
maybe.
parallel life,
There you go.
exactly. It's like
Hmm.
infinitely splitting. Um, But yeah, so I started like the first time I really, other than just having these feelings, right? So in the world of psychism, it's like there's different types. Like there's clairsentience, which you just have this feeling, right? Clairvoyance, where you actually see things,
Yeah. Hmm.
clairaudience, where you hear things,
Yes.
claircognizance, where you just get information, right?
Yes.
So for me early on, it was a lot of like clairsentience. Just having these intuitive knowings. Like the first thing I remember was I was like on this cruise with my family, and there was this like thing where you could go up on stage and like be a contestant on this like game show, and they picked it by seat. And for some reason, I sat in my seat and I was like, I'm gonna get picked. I know it. I just know. And then I was, and it's just like I just remember I felt it so strongly
I love
that I was gonna
that.
get
Yeah.
picked, and I'm
I
like,
love those
six or
moments.
something, or like seven, maybe, yeah, something, maybe seven.
Yeah.
So that's like the earliest thing I remember. And then a lot of just like feelings and, just, I don't know, just mostly just like feeling like things are going to happen or having premonition dreams. Like I've had premonition dreams for a long
Wow.
time.
Cool.
That's pretty well.
Okay.
Most of my family does. It's
I'm
pretty
so
cool.
glad you're getting into this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm listening.
Yeah. But so it's this process of unfolding, right? And it's like where attention goes, energy flows. So the more you like look within, look at these things and embrace these things, the more they'll, you know, um, expand and the more you can open up to it.
Right.
So say like my dad, um, yeah, like a lot of people in my family are psychic and I'm like, you're psychic. And they're like, no, no. But then they'll be like, so like this happens with my dad, right? And
Hmm.
like he had this dream when he was, a teenager, that they had this family friend who flew those like personal planes, those like small planes. Um, and he had this dream he was going to crash and die the next time he flew. And he told him about it. And then he did it anyways and crashed and died.
No.
How crazy is that?
Wait, was that
And I'm
your
like,
dad's brother or?
no, it was a family friend. It was
Oh, okay,
actually like a
okay.
priest that he knew growing up.
Whoa. But like, sorry, I just have to interject because it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like it's also this really interesting topic to me is that you know, the whole debate between like fate and free will,
Free will,
right?
yeah.
Because it's like, what if maybe because he said that, he influenced it
Yeah,
to
I
happen?
mean, you never know. Someone else
You
said
never
that to
know.
me
Yeah, that's true.
recently, but
I know. Yeah.
I don't know. Like it could be both. But I mean, to me, it's like I think for those things to happen, you have to believe that they're going to happen, right? You manifest it. And in this
Hmm.
particular case, I'm like, he didn't believe that would happen, which is why he did it.
Oh,
So I feel like
interesting.
that was
Yeah.
more like my dad tapping into the fields and him manifesting
Oh,
it. But you
right.
can do
That's
that for
good.
sure. Because, like, and again, I don't know 100%. So many of these things are like beyond our total understanding.
No, it's not. It's
So
like we keep
it's,
asking these questions and it's like
it's
they never
important to be
really get
skeptical,
answered.
but there are certain things that like aren't comprehensible with logic. They're just not. Like you're
Yep.
never going to logically understand because there's deeper knowings in the intellectual mind, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but I personally think like, highly sensitive people, like a lot of those people become addicted to things, right? Because they need to numb all the input. And it's like this like self-rejection where they like don't
Mm,
believe in this thing within themselves and it can like manifest in a negative way because they're not letting it out, right? The same way of
yeah.
like an artist doesn't make things that like slowly kills them, you know? Like if you're not
Mm,
listening to your intuition and like which is like I feel like an umbrella term, like psychism is under intuition because it's all about tapping in to yourself into the field, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Um, then like it can slowly like wither you can slowly wither away because of it because your true self is like becoming so small.
Oh my gosh,
um
I need to hear this right now. So for someone who, you know, maybe is listening to this and also feels kind of like disconnected or maybe wants to have more kind of aligned experiences in their life, you know, or just feels like something's
mhm.
missing, you know, like what could you suggest for them to do or like how could they approach
Yeah,
it differently?
so I have two things immediately coming to my mind. Again, my one friend who's staying at the monastery, his advice is always return to the breath,
Mm. Oh
the
yeah.
moment of now.
Mm.
um Acknowledge what you're witnessing within
Mm.
yourself, right? Because, in meditation, like you're trying to, um, quiet the mind, but a lot of times you
Okay.
can't, right? But
No.
it more just, it's not necessarily the total point. Like it's more to create some distance between you and your thoughts and realize that you're not your thoughts. So you can just see them, right?
Mhm.
Like
Right.
they're not you. They're not all of you. Like you are not what you feel, you're not what you think. You just are,
Hmm.
right? You're the one that's experiencing these things. So you like take it a little less personally and you can just witness it. And then just like remember that we're all one, right?
Yeah.
So find that stillness, acknowledge your feelings and your thoughts, and accept them and embrace them and don't judge them and let them pass through you, right? And you can let things go in that way and you can remove these blockages that are keeping you from doing the thing. The last piece of what he says is like, having like remembering oneness in that like this love of God, right? This love of the universe. With that, like when you return to the moment, like you clear that channel that you have to the divine and then the answers come to you, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Like they
Yes.
just
That's
come to you,
perfect.
like you'll just like
Hmm.
know what to do next, right? When like no
Okay.
one else, you'll just like know, you'll just start to know because you have those clearings. And also like you're never gonna 100%, you know. I guess never say never. I don't know it's possible, right? Think of like the Buddha's enlightenment. Like, did he just achieve this state and that's him forever? I don't know. Like, did he have to work at it still to stay in the state? Like, is it a state that you can access and stay in with a lot of practice, or is
Well,
it
what did
something
he
you just
just started
become,
he just started meditating, right? He just sat there and he
right?
like never got up. like, you know,
Actually, under, I
yeah.
think it was like a Bodhi tree in India.
There's a meditation where you literally just sit there, right? And you just sit there for as long as you can or something. And you know, there's people who like were pronounced dead, you know, and then they like woke up like a
I
thousand years
know,
later or something
right?
like
How
that. It's
crazy is that?
nuts. Yeah. So actually, okay, so you know, we're kind of getting to the end here. This has been such an amazing conversation. I live for these conversations. Like
Yeah.
seriously, you're such a breath
Oh,
of fresh
oh, I
air
wanted
to
to say
me. Yeah.
one thing. Just with like knowing what to do next, right?
Okay.
Like I've thought about it like what's your like what's the thing that you want the most that you're most afraid of, right? Like your it's like your desire is like a compass, right? When you've cleared those channels, right? When it's like a true desire from your soul
Yeah.
and not like something your ego wants to fulfill some unmet need or, to make up for something. And like that, because someone like
Yeah.
for me, before I decided to go to art school, I was like, man, artists are so cool. Like I can never, like, I'm not that cool. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? But for other people, it might be like, oh, like me, well, also I'm musicians, but I also am a musician, but say architects are so cool. Like I want to be able to do that, right? Or like, I don't know, like space, going to space, or it's going to be different
Yeah.
from everybody. Like that thing that
Yeah.
you're like, oh, like I think I
What
want
excites
that.
you, right?
What
Follow what
excites you,
excites you.
right?
Totally.
And like that's like an arrow, that you aim at.
Yeah.
And but like a lot of times we don't do these things because we're afraid. Like that's something people say in their deathbed all the time. Like, oh, I wish I took that chance. I wish I pursued that thing I wanted to, but I was too scared.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah,
personally
just like finding
speaking,
stillness
I
and
feel like in that
listening to the
sense,
desire.
I'm afraid of a lot of things. You know, there's so much I want to
Yeah.
do that it like
Yeah.
paralyzes me. I'm just like, well,
Definitely.
like
Yeah.
which way do I go? Like, you know, there's so many different things that are interesting that I just end up like just not
Right. And
choosing any
I've
of them,
struggled
you
with
know?
that too. Yeah, knowing
And
just
yeah,
starting somewhere, right? Just picking, oh my gosh, this is something that I recently, because I've struggled with this in my artistic practice because I have so many ideas about so many
right.
things. And
Yeah.
like, there's an
The curse
infinite
of
way that you
artists.
can
Yeah.
do anything, right? Like, even something so
Mhm.
simple, there's an infinite way you can do it. And how do you pick the one way? And like, I feel like
Right.
I used to put so much pressure on myself, like I need to find the best possible way and like the most perfect way to manifest this idea, and that was really hindering for me.
Mhm.
Um, and I was describing this to someone, so I was like, man, I feel like I'm trying to like fit the ocean into a drop,
Yeah.
right? Like the Rumi quote, and then I'm like, wait, within the drop is the ocean, and then I'm like, no matter what I choose, it has the ocean like inherently in it,
Right.
and you can only do one drop at a time. So it doesn't matter, right? Just let the drop fall, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's going to contain everything.
Right.
And like on some level, right? Um, like within that specificity, you can find the universal always,
Yeah.
right? They're two
Yeah.
sides of the same coin.
I've
Um,
or
yeah.
it's like the yeah, the whole point of Taoism ultimately is to just stop thinking, you know, and I've just found like
Mm-hmm.
that is really like the most healing place to be is when you stop thinking because it's like just by like sitting there and like, oh, should I do this or should I do that, like that is the paralyzation. You think you're doing something by thinking about it, by planning it out, whatever. I mean,
Right.
that's
No,
that's
okay,
kind of my
so
issue.
I experienced this a lot, and I just had a breakthrough like this year,
Oh yeah.
or maybe a little bit towards last year, because especially in art school, they're always like, "Why are you doing this? Why? Like, why is it
Mm,
significant to right now?" Or like, "Where did you get inspired by this from history?" Or like, "Why are you making this?" And you have to use
right.
all this like language to
It's
describe it, and not that
philosophy.
it can be, not that that's not useful, but it's like it's always like before you do it. You know what I mean? Like have the idea, like why, it's all,
Mm,
like a lot about like, this intellectualization of this process that I think is beyond the thinking mind, right?
yeah.
And and I would just ruminate on like what I was trying to say with things, or like what would be the best way to do it, or this or that, and like really digging in and being like, what am I trying to say with my art? Like, what am I trying to put out into the world? And I was talking to this friend that I have at the studio, and he was, he's really into abstract art. and he was saying like just don't think about it, right? Like the point is not to think about it, and then when it's come out and you see it, there's all these things that you do think about, and you do, your
Mhm.
values are inherently in
Mhm.
it, or what you find beautiful or what you find interesting is
Oh
always
yeah.
going to inherently be in the thing,
Right.
right? So it doesn't
It is
come
a
from the
balance.
planning, it comes from the
Mhm.
process,
No, definitely.
right?
I guess like but also, and I'm sorry to, kind of push back so much
No, go
maybe,
for it. No, I like
but
that.
like, I'm kind of putting like all my energy towards making video games, like lo and
Mm.
behold, this is like, to me it's just so interesting because it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a combination of all the different arts. It just seems to me
Mm-hmm.
like it fits me so well because I'm interested in so many different things. There's very like, you have to like be able to program it, you have to write the story, you have to do the art, you have to do the sounds, like there's
Mm-hmm.
so many moving pieces there. And in a medium like that, you are necessarily using your kind of critical intellectual, I don't know, thinking faculty a lot. Like it's
Yeah.
actually really stimulating for that, because you're figuring out these systems of how different things are going to work,
Yeah.
in terms of like the programming and stuff. So I mean, that's why I like it so much, is because it's like it uses all the different parts of what we're capable of. It's
Right.
really satisfying work. But in something like
Yeah.
that, I guess I'm trying to imagine how I would just kind of like stop thinking about it, because it's like thinking is necessary for the process. Like, so
Yeah,
I'm
no, that's
just
a
like,
great point. So maybe I'm gonna amend my, like, it's not that the thinking mind is not working in it at all, right? I guess more with like the following the intuition part, or like the
yes,
inspiration for the thing. Because like
yes, yes,
say even like in ceramics, right? Like I'll have this inspiration that I don't want to think about, but then I have to figure out how to make it. I have to think about how to make it, like
make a
what
plan.
materials are going to work, like what technique am I going to use. So like the practical creation of it, I think does come, like the skill building, like you have to
Yeah,
learn
yeah,
how to
yeah,
code in order to like complete this thing.
yeah.
But like the core of it is from beyond, right?
Right, right. Yeah, no, that's
Like the type
exactly
of
it.
video game you're making or the art style that
That's
you
right.
want to
That's right.
pursue or the
The
story that you're
idea,
trying
the
to
idea, I
tell.
can't tell you, like, I didn't think of it. Like, it just kind of came to me, the idea of it,
Yeah. But
Oh,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
okay.
I love video games. Like I don't actually play them a crazy amount. Like I have played some. I love watching people play video games,
Oh my
but
gosh, it's the
like
best.
considering we're talking, obviously you're so interested and I'm so interested in just thinking about the nature of reality, right? And what if video games feel
Yes.
like such a great metaphor slash like, there's this really fancy word that I learned in art school called a simulacra. Have you heard of this word?
Simulacrum?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a
Simulacra.
unit of the simulation, I guess. No,
I
what
guess
does it
that could be.
mean?
So it's the way that I understand it is like, say in like an art form or something that's created from this like greater fundamental thing. It's
Yeah.
like a condensing of that thing into something that is like almost hyper real. Like say, like you have a strawberry,
Mhm.
but then from that strawberry, if you go down the line of processing, you get like a strawberry candy, which is like the super condensed form of a strawberry, right?
Oh, right, right.
Does that make sense? So
Um,
it's like, and we say that all art is kind of that. It's like a representation of life or the human experience, but
mhm.
like condensed into this thing. I hope I'm explaining that right.
It makes
It's a
sense.
weird word.
No, no, you're making me think of just like essentialism, like finding the
Yeah, I
essence
think
of the
that could
thing,
be, yeah, that's a really good point. Or like the gestalt of the thing, right?
like the main idea of the thing, right? Like the hmm.
Yeah. Like,
No, yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So it's like kind of like you take a strawberry and you create a condensed
yeah, like
version
you
of it.
boil it down to the flavor, right? Like the almost like synthetic flavor that came from the
Or
natural vapor.
yeah, no, video games, what it makes me think of is like like movies like The Matrix, or
Yeah, he's so
Avatar,
excited.
right? Where it's like
Yeah.
we're kind of like we're plugged into this
Which like I
simulated
think that we are,
reality.
right? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's what kind of like everyone's getting to now. It's like we live in the simulation, and it's like, who's sitting behind the screen, kind of like controlling us, right? That's the real us, quote unquote, right? You
mm,
know what I mean? Like we're kind of like a
yeah.
controller, like our body playing this character in this story, right? It's all
hmm
it could be. So it is a video game in a very literal sense. Like it could be seen as that because how do you tell the difference between what's
Right.
real and what's not,
Like
right?
this
We're
is
in a
our
dream right now.
avatar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
exactly, our
playing the
avatar.
video
Yep.
game, right? It's like
Yes.
you say you is like this over like this higher dimensional version of yourself, this
You're
like
over you
oversoul,
oversoul.
right? And
Exactly.
then you're
Yes,
playing your
yes.
oversoul is playing the video game, but then you're in a
Exactly.
specific avatar. But then you're making
Yes.
choices still
Right.
within
It's like
that
who's
avatar, right?
controlling your body, right? Who's controlling your mind? Like all the things that pop in
Yeah.
kind of
This
come
like
from a
animated
higher
force.
source. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And just like that in the video game, that's what you're doing, right? You're sitting there with a controller. You only have like however many buttons, but you can basically do whatever in this world, right? You're
Yeah,
completely
you still make
free.
choices.
You still make choices. That's the newer video games. You can now
Yeah.
make choices, yeah, but I mean a lot of
Yeah,
them are
thinking about
still
like
very
synchronicity
linear.
and fate, right? There are still like pre-planned parts of the video game, like say Zelda, right? Like you have this like
Mhm.
freedom to like do these things and go on these side quests, but the side quests are there for you to find, right?
Yeah. Or the
So
secrets and
it's
stuff, yeah.
like, yeah, so it's like there are still like things that are orchestrated, but it's like you get to respond how you get to choose how you're responding to the
And
orchestration.
ultimately you can't do everything. Like it's pre-programmed, like it is limited, you know what I mean? There's things that you're gonna want to
Yeah,
do that it's just impossible.
right.
What's really cool is when they start finding like glitches in these games, like in Super Mario 64, they like years down the line, like they started finding all these crazy
Mm.
things you could do that the programmers never
That's so cool.
intended.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
think that's
it's
such a
so
great
cool. I love
metaphor for how things
glitches, right?
work.
But also like the video game, if the video game of life, if you excuse the
hmm
metaphor, but like it's so intricate and just like crazily like open. Like you literally can do anything in this life. Like this game, it's like fractal and everything, right? Every little thing you could go into and you could zoom in and you could like find a whole world in it or whatever, right? Or
hmm
you could zoom out to like an infinite amount of time too. And it's like this game, the reality that we're in, like life, so to speak, is
hmm
like the greatest, I don't know, technology, I guess you could say. Like we're trying to recreate it now, right? They're saying that we're going to be able to upload our consciousness onto computers soon.
Oh my
Sorry, I
gosh,
don't know. I
that's
feel like
crazy.
I'm talking too much.
No, you're not
um,
talking too much. I'm listening.
Dude, you're so cool. You're so awesome to talk to, honestly.
No, I'm loving it. Thanks so much for inviting me.
You're the perfect person, yeah, because my podcast is called, Faucets of Reality, exploring the nature of reality. And I do feel like there's something similar about us, at least like on our soul's journey. Like we're trying to figure this out, like we're asking questions, and also the neuroplasticity of it, right? Because you were
hmm
talking about plastics earlier, and like I think
That's a
that's so
great
important, right, to maintain that
observation.
neuroplasticity in your brain, to always be
hmm
learning new things, right?
Oh yeah,
Children are
definitely.
born completely, basically, with an open slate or whatever. They can learn
hmm
anything, right? So, um,
hmm
and art it teaches us to
Yeah,
do that too.
definitely. Yeah. And I feel like with the plasticity part, it's like it can expand, but also has structural integrity, right? Like it
Mm.
still can be stable, right?
And you can
Um,
change it too.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I feel like forging new connections, right, through your neurons, and that's pretty much a roundabout way to think about it, right?
Totally,
Or a
yeah,
general way.
because right.
Yeah, because how like psychedelics can encourage neuroplasticity, right? Like you can form new connections through taking psychedelics,
Yes,
kind of thing,
definitely.
right?
Oh yeah, I think psychedelics can open up parts of your brain you never knew existed. Right?
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, so, I've done a little bit of, I mean, I guess weed's considered a psychedelic, and I've definitely
Yeah.
smoked weed. But I haven't really done too much like hardcore, I've had a little, right? But I've never
Okay.
had like a total blast off experience doing psychedelics.
Really?
But I
Okay.
have doing yoga and breath work, which is just
Okay. Cool. Cool.
crazy to think about, right? Because
Yeah.
it's an endogenous experience, right? Like you can produce it just with manipulating your own body, right? Because these
I
like,
know. It's
we
so
have these
nuts.
receptors for these, chemicals, but like why do we have those receptors? It's because our body produces these things, right?
Yeah.
At least in like some form. So we can
Mhm.
produce these things. Like we can produce cannabinoids and opioids and
Yep.
dopamine, right?
That's exactly right.
And like all of these things, right? And DMT, right? So it's like you can have like a DMT experience without smoking DMT if you
Yep.
are able to like release it from your own body for that experience, right?
No, that's right. It's crazy how much like the human body has that we have yet to explore. That's what I like love that, right? Like
Yeah,
there's still so much that we have not even like started to even scratch the surface of,
right.
for real.
Talk about how we haven't explored the ocean, right? Which is true, but it's like,
Yeah. Or
how about
space,
the exploration you can do in your mind? Like,
Right. You sound like such a hippie when you say
I know,
that.
I am a hippie these days, bro. Like, I swear.
No, I was just talking to someone yesterday, and this guy, I really hope I can have him on my podcast. But basically, I saw a podcast he did with someone, and he was basically saying that, within the next 10 years, there's going to be like an explosion of people coming out with
Mm,
psychic powers, like being able to
yeah,
fly and stuff, or like we're at that stage of humanity,
yeah,
right? Where
yeah,
these things that were kind of alluded to for so long, like people are going to start doing them
right.
more and more. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen these videos, like these reels of people like moving stuff with their minds and stuff, or being able to like
Yeah.
control water. Have you been seeing
I
this
think
stuff?
I've come
There's a
through it
lot
a
of it.
bit.
There's a lot of it out there.
But I mean, what's so interesting is so many of these things are like, baked into different mystic traditions, right? I mean,
Yes,
like
exactly.
Jesus walked on water, right? What is that but like
Hmm.
breaking the laws of physics? Or
Dude,
like we said
yes.
earlier, like Tibetan monks like going so deep into meditation, or like even like being buried alive sometimes, and being like a medical professional can like pronounce them dead because they don't have, but then they're still alive, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, I just think that these have always been things that people have the capacity to do, but it took so much dedication to do it. But
Mm.
now I think that we're entering a time in our collective history where the veil is thinning, right? So I think it's easier to access these states now because we're living in a different energy, right? Where the collective consciousness
Yes.
is like rising more collectively, right? So that builds the capacity. But then I also just think that the veil is thinning, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yep.
the line between this dimension and the next dimension is getting more blurred, right?
Whoa. Okay. Cool.
And this is really in like the new agey stuff, which is just so funny because like I never really was. I haven't been like this forever, you know what I mean? Like so much of like these things that I've come to that I never necessarily would have thought that I would come to have just
Hmm.
unfolded naturally through my personal experiences. Like not only like my research into different things, but like my firsthand experiences and things that have come to me during meditation or like I don't know. So it's just interesting that these like kind of really out there and seemingly illogical things, um, I don't know, they kind of prove themselves more and more.
I know. I know. It's so great, right? It's like I just love that there's still so much more to explore. That to me is like the essence of life, There's like
Yeah.
the mystery of it or whatever. And so I think part of it is also that the more people start to do new things, the easier it becomes for others to do them as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like at first, they invented the telephone and only like a few people could do it, or even with the internet, and then it like spread to everyone, right?
Or even like I
Or
think say like the Wright brothers and flying the first airplane, I'm pretty sure they only like flew the first one within like a pretty small amount of time because
Hmm.
that idea had already been designed like somewhere in Europe as well.
Yeah,
But we were just the first ones to complete it, right? Like, so it's like it entered the field,
exactly.
right? And
Yes.
then if you're open to it, you can like receive that simultaneously as someone
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Or even like with skateboarding, it just made me think of like skateboarding where in the 80s, Rodney Mullen did the first kickflip, the first like
mm,
where you jump
interesting.
up and you do the kickflip or whatever, and nobody saw that before, And like now, what is it like 30, 40, 50 years later, it's such a standard thing. Like it's kind of like, you're not really a skateboarder unless you can do a kickflip. Like everyone's doing it now.
Right.
So I think the same thing with, yeah, like you said, it entered the field. Rick Rubin, who I don't know if you're familiar with, he just wrote a book recently, The Creative Act.
Hmm.
You heard of this?
No, I
No?
actually
Okay, you
haven't.
have to. You
No.
have to.
Yeah.
Anyways, he there's this one thing that he says is that yeah, like eventually or at a certain time in history, like the conditions are just right,
Yeah.
and you'll find a lot of times people will invent the same thing but in like different parts of the world.
Yeah.
So like that type of thing happens too. Or it's like if you're called to do something new, if you don't do it, someone else is gonna.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I believe that too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
and so as more people are starting to develop these psychic powers, like I think it's going to be easier for us to do, or like we're going to tap into it more. Maybe we've been doing
Yeah.
it all along in a
I
way.
think it's just like showing what's possible, right?
Yeah.
Um, because if you don't think something is possible, it's going to be impossible,
Hmm.
right? Like the
Yeah.
belief that it's possible precedes the doing it,
Hmm.
right? Um, I guess
Totally.
I guess not necessarily always. I feel like you can kind of like not know something is possible and then it comes to you too. Hmm. I don't know. I'll have to think about that more. But yeah, and I think that we have had these abilities like dormant within us. But I also think that a lot of people have been accessing these abilities forever, like we talked about, like, you like all this like lore about what people are capable of. Um, but it's like seen as like folklore or just like, you know, I don't know, just
Like a story or like
metaphoric.
a myth. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like a
Right.
metaphor for something. But it's
Right.
like, what if it's actually real? You know?
Yeah. Hmm.
And I just, I've been getting so into folklore and like, just like folk stories, which just means, just like stories from people, like everyday people, right? Not some like big, not some like monarchy telling you what happened historically in a battle, what they're usually
Hmm.
like, right? It's just like, this access to information from direct experience, right? Um,
Like, what are some cool things you've read about recently, or like what are some
like
folk
I just
stories?
think about, certain things that are present, like a golden thread, or like, oh, there are myths about this thing in all these different places, that theoretically might not have had contact with each other, or like persisted through history, right?
Hmm.
Is like a constant, we're maybe surrounded by things that are more nuanced in a specific way, but like the kernel has been constant forever, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
Even just like the idea that there are spirits, like literally the most, such a basic thing.
Yeah, like
Like,
ghosts, right? Like, do you believe in ghosts, right?
yeah, right. And I mean, like, I believe in fairies now, like, I really do. I'm just kidding.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Just like certain things like this are like witches are real,
Yeah, for sure. So you were saying
you
how
know?
you've actually like communicated with these spirits and stuff, right? Or like,
Sometimes, yeah.
I mean, you said like in certain meditations or something, right? Or like these like gods, or so
Yeah, I
do
have.
tell.
Well, yeah, me and my friend called
If
in Kali one time. That was crazy. Do you know what I'm talking about? Just like fierce,
pretty
like,
pretty yes, yeah, yeah. I know Kali Durga, right? I think.
yeah, 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 yeah. And yeah, no, it's just like you just like we felt her come into the room. It
Yeah.
was crazy. And like so we did this whole opening ceremony and meditated. and, created like a protection, intention, circle maybe, and like prayed to this being to come, right? And
Okay.
assist if they wanted to. And we really did feel her come into the room.
Wow.
And it was to help me deal with some PTSD that I was experiencing. And I was like asking with her help to transform things because she can be like really fierce, but she's also like a loving mother and she can help you transform like pain, or like let things go or
Hmm.
um like alchemize it, right, as they say.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just like really felt it. And like sometimes I'll sort of like see these like half images in my mind, or like sometimes they're kind of like little movies, which is pretty crazy. Like That's So Raven style. But I like saw her kind of like come here and then she like opens my third eye and then she was like pulling all
Wow.
this stuff out. And I just feel this like energy rushing out. And it was like this black goo with like I don't know, like all it was so dark, right? These like things that like this like pain that was inside that she was helping me shed. And she did that in like a couple of different places, and I literally feel these like pulsings of energy and like all this stuff. Like it was just you just feel it, right? And it's something that's like beyond. I don't know. Again, I don't know. It's like I guess it depends what frame of logic that you're operating under, like whether you can intellectually believe something or not that's beyond our typical perception,
Hmm.
right, like the average ability to perceive. um but yeah, you just feel it. And yeah, it's pretty wild. So let's see. I would say, okay, so this is my first story. This is my first crazy experience that I had
Okay.
that really started the big blast off, right? Like I said, I'd like met a couple people that I started having a little bit of past life visions and stuff, and I always had premonition dreams and things like that. But this was during COVID time, and like I was living in Vermont, right? I'm in the middle of nature, um, very like isolated as we all were. Um,
Hmm.
a lot of time at home. And I just started doing like a ridiculous amount of yoga, just like ridiculous, like yoga and meditating. And I got really into like the whole Wim Hof thing. And honestly, it helped me
Yeah.
so much. It really,
You
I'm
you
so
did
like,
the
I
the
know it's like,
ice baths and everything, like you.
I did a little bit of the ice baths, but it was so cold in
Mm.
Vermont. Like I could go
Oh.
outside when it's like -10,
Yeah, that's probably enough already, right?
and just like, and I have done some of the ice baths too, but or just like go in water that's really cold, right? Like natural water bodies. And so I was doing all these crazy things, and I was doing, I was super on my game, like health wise at the time, because I was dealing with a lot of fibromyalgia. So I was trying to figure out how to help it because it was like so painful, and just like low inflammation foods and medicinal mushroom tea every morning. And so I was going real hard. Like I was just going so hard.
What is fibromyalgia again?
It's they don't totally understand it. It's kind of like a catch-all diagnosis for when you have unexplained like widespread body like musculoskeletal pain.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Oof.
muscular skeletal. I don't know how to say that, but it's pretty much like the fascia. It's like you feel it. It's just like widespread pain, right? And fatigue. And now they're kind of thinking of it as like a neurological disorder where your pain receptors um, are messed up and it's telling your body you're in pain when you're not.
Oh, I'm
And it,
sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
yeah, I know it's tough sometimes. And like my sister has it too. And but a lot of it really is like, you know, your nervous system was damaged. So a lot of it's like PTSD, in my opinion, like trapped trauma in the
Mm.
body. And I'm not sure, like, I think that they've been saying that somewhat in the scientific literature, but I don't know. This is definitely like my own personal experience because whenever I get really stressed or yeah, I have like some PTSD events go
So
on,
you
it
you
really
you
flares
went
up.
deep into it, right? You tried to kind of like go inside and like figure out what the issue
Yeah,
is, right?
and Wim Hof really helps that because
Mm.
the cold therapy and the breathing, it really calms the nervous system.
Hmm.
And again, like through his techniques, you can release cannabinoids and opioids and dopamine and all these
I
things,
read
right?
I read his book. Yeah, I was really into him. I think like last year.
Yeah.
And I started like doing the breath techniques. I was doing them like every day, and
Hmm.
like yeah, you start to tap into this psychedelic thing because like it's like in the air, right? The prana or
Hmm.
something, right? And
Mm.
it's almost like we
Mm.
don't breathe enough almost like if you breathe to such an amount that all the
Right.
oxygen is like replaced in your whole body and then you keep breathing through that, it
Right.
like something happens to your body, like you start to feel like lighter or something like. And
Yeah.
then yeah, I started getting these kind of like psychological, like yeah, almost like I started tripping. It scared me, honestly. I stopped after
Yeah.
that because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like is it's
Yeah.
that accessible, like it's that easy to like do, like I don't know,
Yeah.
it was really mind-blowing. So what was your
So
experience with
definitely it
it?
really, really helped my body pain, which was
Really?
amazing. And then also
Really?
yoga really, really helps. And yeah, I'm doing all these things in combination. And also was like getting into this hermetic stuff, which I'm gonna leave that for right now. So it's a whole long story. But so like one night I'm doing yoga and stuff. Oh, a real quick thing about yoga that was so interesting. So I've been doing it since I was a teenager. And learning different techniques. I never got like certified to teach or like did some crazy retreat or, training or anything. But, exposed to different techniques and, just YouTube and going to classes and like vinyasa and deep stretch and blah, blah, blah. And there's so many different types of yoga. It's actually
Mhm.
pretty wild. It's a very complicated system. And I am not an expert on the scholarly part of it. Um, but yeah, as I'm doing all these things, oh yeah, there's also Kundalini yoga, which is a pretty wild thing. Um,
Okay, yeah.
hmm
Didn't you say,
hmm
okay, didn't you say that like I was the first person to tell you about
Yeah, so
Kundalini?
so they say it's like the like a big source of energy at the base of your spine.
Hmm.
It's like seen as like a coiled snake,
Yeah.
and you can let it rise, right? So it's like this life force energy that lives there,
Hmm.
that helps you awaken, right, to your true self. So Kundalini yoga are exercises to release that energy, to get that energy to flow. And there's something called like Kundalini awakenings that can happen, right? Where this it gets like activated. And it can be really tough too. But like
Yeah, oh my
so
gosh, totally. Yep.
yeah, because to move on to like a higher version of yourself, you need to reckon with all these things, right? So it means you have to look at them. Like there's no way around that. You have to feel, you have to truly feel the things that you felt, deeply
Yeah.
and truly and acknowledge what's still living inside of you, right?
Hmm.
So, that's why I don't know, the spiritual journey is so tough when you're really doing it.
Did you have a Kundalini awakening?
Yeah, I definitely have. There's like several that you can have. And maybe this is part of it. Maybe this is kind of what this was, but so yeah, I was doing my yoga and breath work, and I had some music playing on my TV, just like casting to it. It was
Mhm.
actually the Beck album, Obladaya, which I've never, I really like Beck. I've never been like a hardcore expert on him, which is just like sounds really cool. I just think that's funny. But there was this like shaggy dog on the cover, the album cover, like jumping over this hurdle. And so I'm just doing my thing. I'm not really like looking at the TV. And all of a sudden, the TV starts blinking and it's like wah wah wah,
Whoa.
and then the image on the TV changed from the album cover to the Shinto shrine, like, you know, um, and I literally felt my soul leave my body and get sucked up in through this shrine, like this archway.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Crazy.
and then I'm like, traveling through these different layers of reality, right? Like fractal patterns and like seeing animal spirits and seeing like colors and, like, and it's so cool when this happens because, um, like, patterns from different like indigenous peoples or like different eras of history, like in different dimensions, they're present there. So I just feel like different cultures are like tapping into a different layer and, like getting these like sacred geometries, right? That are like different from each other, but just from a different layer of reality, but
Mm.
equally true, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then all of a sudden I'm like out in space. Like I'm literally out in space. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then this is gonna sound so ridiculous, but the first thing I see is this like 60s psychedelic looking van that's like pink and like, with
Mm.
airplane wings. So it's like a flying, I guess, Astro van. You know
Okay.
that song? Like, um, oh man, what? Okay, well, yeah, it's not important, but it's like Jesus drives an Astro van. Whoever knows that, like, but but yeah, and there were two aliens inside, like two like gray aliens, and they just like waved at me like this. And, it felt more real than like any face-to-face interaction I've ever had. And side note, I did not take drugs before this. This is all from the yoga and, just
Whoa.
people always ask me that. Um, and yeah, it felt like they can like see the entirety of your being, right? In a way, like you ever like talk to someone who makes like really good eye contact and you feel like they're like looking through you?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like some people have a way more intense gaze than others, like they're really seeing you, right?
Yeah.
It was like that times 1,000, right? It's like, and then behind them was
Whoa.
a giant angel,
A
like
giant
giant.
angel. Okay, that's interesting. I like angels. What did this angel
Yeah.
look like? Have you tried to like paint this experience or
Oh my
anything?
gosh, I need to. Like everyone keeps telling me I gotta paint these things. I have so much art to make. It's ridiculous. But I really do. I still see it so vividly in my head, so I don't think that I would have an issue like recalling it to do.
That sounds like
Um,
something to paint. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Like I've been so like I was so scared to tell people these stories for a while, but I've ended up like people all know now. I'm like I'm woo woo now. I used to like feel like I was Hermione and now I'm like I'm Luna. Like what's going on? Like my self-identity has
Luna was
completely
my
changed.
favorite. She was my
No, I
favorite
know. I just
character. Oh
gotta
my
embrace
gosh, I
the
love.
weirdness.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like
embrace it
I'm
for sure.
quirky.
We
It's
need more of that. We need
cool.
more of that. Yes, totally. I always tell, that's what I say. It's like to people, it's like, yeah, be strange, be weird. That's when you're gonna be like your real self, and we need more of that. Like
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
too like alike. People are too, normal, whatever that is, even. But like
Yeah. I
everyone is
know.
so
It's like it's an
conformist.
illusion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone tries to be like everyone else. It's like deeply embedded in us for like a survival,
Yeah.
like tribal thing. But
Yeah.
we're in
And
the
like
age
group
now.
acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to stand out. You got to be who you are, and you got to like, your uniqueness. I think is
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, not to be dramatic, but I literally think that like the fate of humanity depends on it.
wow. On what?
On like us like embracing our like weirdest self, our most authentic self.
Yeah, because the other direction is we all become like gray blobs, right? And everything becomes gray, and it's like
Right,
that's
like
not
a
right.
like a group mind, which, we can get all into the aliens at some point. Not right now, but
Ooh, I'd love to. Yeah, okay,
oh my
but
God, bro, aliens, man. And also even with that, like I was always like open-minded to aliens, but now I'm like, there's this quote from Carl Jung where they asked him if he believed in God. Like, this is at the end of his life. And he was like,
uh,
I don't have to believe, I know.
well,
And it's like
exactly.
when you have direct experience, and you have to still be nuanced, you still have to look at it, be discerning, because there's so much that can get distorted too, but just like fundamental things. And that's kind of, I don't know, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, so when I see this angel, and like I swear, like I um came back from that and I felt peace like I have never felt peace.
Hmm.
And like for the first time in my life, I just felt like in tune with the oneness and like not anxiety, like no anxiety, no sad, just present. And that lasted for like 4 days, 4 days.
Amazing.
And I
Hmm.
was just like, oh my gosh, did I like achieve inner peace?
You're so funny.
But no, I did not. I did not, like,
No, you come back to it, right? But just like you had a taste of it, maybe. I don't know, but it's
yeah.
like it's possible, I guess, or
But I
something.
mean, it's like, okay, so you access this higher plane of reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in order to like, your baseline to rise, it's like you have to like drop weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the higher you reach, the deeper you have to reach. You know, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, like Carl Jung said, right? The roots of the tree can only go like as high as the no, wait, what is it? The roots, oh, what is it? Like the tree can only grow as high as the roots go into right. So
go
it's like
deep.
both are
Yeah.
exactly like they're mirror images, for
Actually,
lack of a
I've
better
never heard
word.
that quote, but I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I always remember Carl Jung said. Yeah, like the branches can only go as high as the roots are deep, right? So
Hmm.
yeah. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
that, right? So it's like
Yeah. I completely think
um
that's true.
the
Um,
contrast thing. I feel like that's such a like just such a intrinsic part of
yeah.
this reality,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
like
And I mean, I
everywhere.
think the point of like, you know, I don't know. I want to say, I want to say enlightenment, but it sounds so, hoity-toity a little bit. Like, but I mean, in
Mhm.
order to, which I think is just like complete and total presence ultimately, right? Like reaching the state of like oneness and just complete and total presence.
Yeah.
Which is like something like you have a foot in both worlds, right?
Hmm.
At the same time, like here, but
Hmm.
in tune with all. And if you're trying to achieve that like middle way, like, the center of, you have to include the upper and lower worlds in that. Like you have to integrate it. Like Carl Jung talks about integrating the shadow,
Yeah.
and to be able to be whole, you need to make the unknown known, like the unconscious conscious. And that's what they mean by like an ego death, which I think is actually a misnomer because like I don't think the ego actually dies. Because if it completely died, we'd be like, Tibetan monks reaching the rainbow body and like not being able to exist here anymore.
Hmm. Exactly.
Just like
Yeah.
dissolving into light.
No, no, that's the thing.
Um,
Like the ego is not bad, right? It's not
no, it's
like
not.
I think maybe some spiritual, in the community, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, kill your ego or something. But it's like it's not
Yeah.
bad. It's just one kind of layer of everything that you are. Like
I
there's
feel like
places
it's
to
like our
go.
individual driver,
Yeah.
like our, I don't know, like our avatar or something. But it can be
Uh,
like our, consciousness avatar maybe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty much exactly what it is. I've heard it explained basically that like, back in the day, like at earlier points of our evolution, we needed this ego to just kind of to protect like who you are, to protect
Hmm.
like your property or your family, for example.
Hmm.
That's why the ego, it's like a very kind of
Hmm.
masculine thing because it's like the warrior. It's like
Hmm.
it's like this is me and I'm the best
Hmm.
and I'm the greatest and there's no one else like me kind of thing.
Hmm.
And
But like that's
you're
like
doing
having
that
a big
because
ego, right? That's like having like a
yeah,
wounded ego,
but that's
right?
exactly it. It comes from a wound. It comes from a wound of not being strong. So you kind of puff up your chest and
Right.
what's it called? You make these stances and you make yourself look really kind of impressive and everything, right? But
Right.
really, like it's just like that is a place that we have to go through, in our evolution. And
People can be full of themselves and they can be whatever. Like, like I'm thinking about these like, these online potters that are like, you know,
yeah,
showing
that's
their
what I'm talking
muscles
about.
or whatever,
Right. Or even like
But the act
musicians,
of
right? Or
putting it
rock
out there,
stars.
yeah,
Like rock star or like, these big people, like to get to be that big, you have to have a really strong ego, like you do,
yeah.
however
You
you
have to
look at
really
it.
yeah believe in yourself, like
Right,
you have to
right.
really kind of, well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I feel like people, and also a lot of those people are deeply insecure, so they're just overcompensating,
That's
right?
exactly, yeah.
Um, it's like no amount of fame is enough to get them to love themselves, right? No accomplishment, right? It's like this ever, I don't know, moving goalpost to like finally I'm worth something,
Yeah,
you
and then
know?
there's just also the kind of like the psychological aspect of like um, people who wear masks, right? So like you wear the thing that you want to become is like what you present yourself as is actually what you're lacking, like deeply.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if you ever thought of it that way. It's
No, I
like,
didn't.
so
Yeah.
it's like people will dress within these like really expensive clothes, but
Right.
really they're poor, stuff like
Yeah, they
that,
just they
right?
want to appear a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mm,
I don't
yeah.
know this. I think this is a good, interesting subject for art in general. But dude, this conversation is so long already.
I
Like,
know, yeah.
it's like, what are we going on, like 2 hours or something? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I was gonna say just one more thing, but I don't.
Sorry if I cut you off. Yeah, yeah. No,
No,
go
no,
ahead.
you didn't. You... Oh, yeah, just talking about like the ego and its role, like say when you're like integrating the shadow.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's more that like the barrier between like the conscious mind and the subconscious mind becomes more like permeable. So you have access to it. Like you're not blocked from what's inside of you anymore,
Hmm.
right? So it's like, when it's still really active in the way that it's like controlling everything,
You mean
right?
the ego?
Like in the driver's seat. It's
Okay.
like there's these
I
like
like
more
that. Yeah.
firm barriers. Like you can't,
Hmm.
where it's like in the integration of it to become like the truest self
The
has to be,
interface,
yeah,
almost. Like
yeah.
it's like the interface between the lower and the higher self. It's almost like, it's like the controller, right? That's controlling your avatar in a way, right?
Yeah, because we're controlled by our subconscious quite a lot, right? Um,
Mm.
but man, we're getting real in psychology. Like I just like
No,
I
I
love
know,
this
I know.
stuff.
It's great. No, it's
So interesting because these things I've gone so deep into, like I don't have like degrees in them or like, any like formal
no,
training,
you
but I've
don't need
really
to
been,
anymore. Yeah.
yeah, I've really been like thinking a lot about how like A, like following your own curiosity and like doing your own research on things is really important.
Of
And it's
course.
like kind of like the Montessori model of learning, right? You're just like following, and you're going to absorb those things so much more. And also just like thinking of things from first principles, right? Like not having someone else to tell you what to think about something. Like you're just like reading the source material, or you're just like you don't have a teacher being like, this is the interpretation of it that is right. Even though sometimes they're not like that, right?
No, no,
But
that's from my opinion, that's the best way to learn is to like follow what you're interested in and not like let someone
yeah,
else kind of tell you what to do. Like again, it's kind of how I've learned. I mean, I always say like I've learned more outside of school than I
yeah. And
learned
some
in
of the smartest
school.
people I know, like ever, were not good
Yeah.
at school. Or like we're not, whatever, maybe not good at it, but like didn't get good grades and like didn't go to college and stuff. And I'm like, dang, y'all are so smart.
No,
Like
yeah, exactly.
and like open-minded and like curious about things in a way that I feel like a lot of the people I meet in school, it's just like becomes this, like convergent thing, right? Like you're saying, like they all kind of start thinking the same way.
Yeah,
And
and
and it's just
conform.
like,
Mhm.
so I just feel like looking at things from first principles, like just like the base foundation, like what is the core of this thing, and then exploring on your own is
Yeah.
just so, I feel like that's, how you get innovation and like new ideas and new connections between
No,
things.
exactly.
And
To me, like the most interesting, the most smartest people are people who have gone their own way, who kind of like, blazed a new trail, or maybe went the
mhm,
path least whatever, whatever that thing is. But then it's like we all converge ultimately. It's not like people have tried to like create their own language, for example, and just like live off of
mm,
that, but it's like
right.
there's still very like on that base, that common ground that we're all on,
Hmm.
like we're speaking the same language, for example. That's huge already, like,
Hmm.
how do we understand each other at all?
Yeah.
It's like we do, you know what I mean? Like we
I
do
know, it's
we
so crazy to think about. Like,
yeah, yeah. But it's like there is a commonality no matter what. So I feel like, like you were saying earlier, like we should be our unique selves as much as possible, right? Because that's only gonna
right.
make society better, and it's only gonna
Yeah.
expand the possibility of what anyone can do.
Yeah. And I mean, think of even just like, okay, because, being authentic isn't always, I don't know,
Not
like
always easy.
sometimes you have to you challenge things by being authentic, right?
You
Or sometimes
rebel,
you
exactly.
call
Yeah.
it like it is, right?
Mhm.
Or sometimes it means telling someone that they really hurt your feelings or this type of behavior isn't okay,
Oh,
right? But then it's
so
also like
important.
expressing yourself freely, and then, you can inspire other people to express themselves freely. Or, and especially with like creativity, I feel like it's like putting out a beacon, right? And it
Mm.
brings people that are like you to you, you know?
Hmm. That's beautiful.
you know, and it like inspires people, right? You can be inspired and also inspire people.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think it's so important for people to do, right? And this is where people are like, oh, you know, oh, am I just being like arrogant thinking I can, you know, would be a good musician and putting my music out there and people will think this, right? But it's like the right people, you know, even if it just helps one person feel something that helps them, like, isn't
Yeah.
that worth it? You know, like we all
even
have
if it
different,
just even if it
yeah,
just helps you, like even if you're the one who
yeah,
like it helps, just to get it out there, to express it,
yeah,
um I've definitely, I've made so much art, and I feel like people don't always resonate with it, but it's like ultimately, like Rick Rubin says, just that you created it, that you put it out there, you're already a success.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not for other people ultimately, it's meant for you, like,
yeah.
um do you have anything like more to say? Like, do you wanna, like, I don't know, do you have any links you want to share, or
Mm.
anything that you want
I mean,
people
maybe just my
to?
Insta.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, maybe just my Insta. Be
Perfect,
cool.
perfect. That makes it nice, clean, and
Yeah. So
simple. I love
I'm
it.
at Jackie, Jackie, Lope, Lope dot land. Like a
Nice.
jackalope.
Jackalope, I get it. I'm gonna put it
Alope.
in the notes too. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah.
Really, like from the bottom of my heart, like just really great
Aw.
conversation. I've been needing something like this, and yeah, stay tuned
Yeah,
for
I loved it.
more.
Thank you so much for having me. You're cool. We should chat soon, just like whenever, you know.
Oh yeah, totally.